I got a moment of peace here for your Philadelphia sports fans. Yeah, man. I really don't know where to begin. I'll start here. So, I mean, I think most Philly sports fans now are going to start rooting for the Knicks. Guys are acting like New Yorkers now. I mean, Philadelphia MVP award for Howie Roseman, the Met Gala for Jalen Hurts, and all these awards shows, and White House. Man, guys got a big schedule. Taking all the awards. How anti-Philly is that? I mean, you guys are at all the galas now, like you're New Yorkers. You must be rooting for the Knicks. I mean, I know Brunson's a Nova kid, but I mean, you got to be rooting for the Knicks now. Now, wait a minute. Is it subtly behind closed doors you wish you were New Yorkers? Because you're sure acting like it. All these award shows, red carpet. What happened to the Philadelphia Eagles? What happened to Philadelphia? Award shows? I'm expecting Howie and Jalen Hurts to be at the Academy Awards next year. I mean, right there on the red carpet there with, holy cow. Unbelievable, man. So you guys secret New Yorkers? I mean, holy cow. Howie's getting an award with a key on it. He's in a suit and he's like, yeah, I'd be like, come on, man. That's Philadelphia now? At the Met Gala? Gala? Is it Gala? I don't know. I've never been to one of those things. Then you win. Or I don't know if it's a win, but you get the third pick in the NBA lottery last night. Great. You get a Rutgers guy. I'm sure that will turn it around. No, I mean, hey, with Embiid and Paul George, I'm sure that's going to make those guys healthier. 2 Rutgers guys, right? I heard John McMullen say it. 2 Rutgers guys are going to go in the top end of the draft next to the Great White Hope, and they didn't even make the tournament. John's like, I've never seen that before. Yeah, you have. Ben Simmons. They drafted Ben Simmons. His LSU team didn't make the playoffs. They didn't make the NCAA tournament that year. And you guys took him number 1. Well, you forgot Ben Simmons, right? You kind of like erased the history of sticks or hoop. Yeah, Ben Simmons, his last year at LSU, didn't carry the team, his Tigers, to the NCAA tournament. That's kind of what you got with these Rutgers guys. Hey, what's the Great White Hope's name again? The kid from Duke. What's his name? Hey, so he's going to go number 1 overall to a rigged Dallas Mavericks. Right? Is that what that is? Holy cow. And they're trying to compare him to Caitlin Clark. That guy will never have the same impact because he's not that great a player. Last 50 years at Pittsburgh, 2 good coaches and an average coach. Not true. Cooper Flagg, that's right. That's going to turn the fortunes around. If you're going to turn the fortunes around with great NBA ratings, you wouldn't put Cooper Flagg in Dallas. You'd put his ass in Boston, or you'd put his ass in Los Angeles or Chicago, Detroit, places like that. That would be the place you put that guy in for you to get some rivalry going and have it going back and forth in those big cities, man. Dallas, what is he going to bring to Dallas? Basketball in Dallas is a dying sport. That's an NFL. Dude, if you were going to talk about the 2 best franchises in Dallas, you're going to talk about the Cowboys and the Texas Longhorns. I got to talk about the Mavericks. Hey, Chris, Mark Cuban doesn't own that team anymore, man. There's not the same punch that it had. Cooper Flagg. And then the Sixers get the 3rd pick. Big deal. Great. And you know what? People will pretend for the next month that they know about the European players. And somehow everyone becomes like they were a COVID-19 expert. And now they're tariff experts. Now, all of a sudden, people are going to become, hey, I saw this guy playing in Lithuania. He was really great. The Sixers should grab him. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. All right, so the NFL schedule. No wonder the NFL dominates. They do such a great job on the sports calendar. You're going to get more views tomorrow night for the dropping of the NFL calendar and for the schedule of games that are going to be played than anything that will be on TV. Let me give you a great understanding of where the NFL is and why this is important. Why do you think tomorrow night the dropping of the NFL schedule is important? Does anybody know? By the way, hit the like button and all super chats go to the top. Thank you already out of the gate with 40 likes already. I appreciate that, guys. Please hit the like button. Why do you think it's important, the schedule being dropped tomorrow night? Brandon's not sure. Why do you think it's important? There you go. Before the NBA rating finals, the NFL is not afraid of the NBA in any way whatsoever. Ratings. Let me show you guys something. This is the 2024 television top 100 shows. I mentioned this briefly yesterday. Now, obviously, the Super Bowl that was just played in February goes towards the 2025 season. So this is the 2024 tickets. What are you, crazy? Number one most watched TV show in 2024, the Super Bowl. Kansas City and the 49ers, 121 million people watched it. Second, the NFC title game, Niners and Lions, 56 million people watched it. Number three, AFC divisional game, Chiefs, Bills. Number four, NFL. Number five, NFL. Number six, NFL. Number seven, NFL. Number 8, NFL. Number 9, NFL. Number 10, the NFL. The first show last year that was non-NFL related was the presidential debates at number 12. And then the 96 Academy Awards at 13. NFL. At 19, the Grammy Awards. NFL 22, the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. 23, college football semifinals. Football. World Series Game 4, 28th. All of these are sports and NFL, except for the presidential debates, which you only get every 4 years. Look at this all down the list. I don't even see a television show. The number one television show on TV is the NFL. Overtime, 68. That's the show after the games on Fox. Here's the first show. 60 Minutes, 70th. Young Sheldon, 71. You have to get down near the 80s before you find a regular television show that's on Monday through Friday. You want to know why the schedule's important? Television networks are now beholden to what the league is going to put out when it comes to putting good games together. The television networks are waiting to see tomorrow night themselves what they're going to give the fans, you. That's a big deal. In network television, the number one property is sports. And there's no debating it anymore. The National Football League, college football, World Series. There were 3 shows in the top 100. Look at this. There were 3 shows. Football Night in America, number 79. 60 minutes is 91. Look, I mean, all of them are sports. That's how important it is now. Network television's dead. There's no shows on like Seinfeld or those shows that used to pull enormous numbers. The only thing that are pulling enormous numbers are matchups in the NFL. Eagles got a couple of them releasing. It's brilliant how they're kind of like easing them out too, so that TV networks can start setting their programming up. Why do you think the NFL is kind of dribbling out a little bit of the schedule? So they can set their fall programming up. It's not for you. This is for TV networks. NFL's not trying to do them any favors. Here, the Cowboys. That's not the game you want to see, but it's the game America wants to see. The Dallas Cowboys. Drama. Good or bad. Hey, the good thing about the Cowboys, I'll say this to you. When the Eagles suck, no one's covering you. When the Cowboys suck, everyone's covering you. That's the difference. That is the total difference. So I don't understand the Bears-Eagles game. To what point? I actually like it. Chicago, it's a big market city with great fans. Do you know how many fans are in the Tampa Bay area are Bear fans? Week 10 at Lambeau. I mean, so you're bringing Jalen Hurts to Lambeau Field. That's pretty dope. One of the older franchises, the Eagles, taking on one of the older franchise, the Green Bay Packers, at Lambeau Field. The cathedral of the NFL, and maybe in sports. I mean, there's no bigger or better stadium in all of American sports. Maybe Yankee Stadium. Next to Lambeau. American sports history. The NFL history of the league is in that building. I mean, and you bring the reigning champs to Lambeau Field. It's fantastic. That's great television. Watching Notre Dame play in that semifinal game with the snow was awesome. The optics of that game was awesome. Okay? Awesome. Hey, bro, you never been there, obviously. Why would you think anything but a negative thing about it? Well, you think Lincoln Financial's got history? Come on, man. Lambeau Field is the NFL. And they've knocked most of the places down that still carry the history of the league. The last true stadiums left with history is Soldier Field, Arrowhead, Ralph Wilson, which will soon be demolished, the LA Coliseum. Okay, I mean, and what else do you get in that Week 10 game? Come on, guys. What else do you get in that Week 10 game? Let's see how smart you are. Come on now. Come on now. Yeah, well, Senor loves a better quarterback than Hurts. Come on now. There you go. Pretty good. Finish it up, CJ. There you go, Kimbo. These are the guys that wrote the complaint on the tush push. So you get the tush push war there at Lambeau Field. How you doing? Hey, add a little more drama? That's why it's going to be taken away. See what you're going to get, the NFL? Look what they're doing. Okay? Look what they're doing. They're having a meeting next week. They're taking the tush push away, and they're scheduling you at Lambeau Field. How is that not made for TV? I mean, who did this? Martin Scorsese? I mean, here we go. Roger, talk shit that you hate the tush push. At the previous NFL meetings, we'll take it away next week. Then we'll play the game at Lambeau Field. Hopefully it's snowing in Chicago, or excuse me, in Green Bay at Lambeau. I mean, right, that's a script. Perfectly done. Perfectly done. Week 13, Bears. So you got the Eagles now on Prime Video. Go stream the game. All you streamers. Tush push LaFour's crying ass. Thank you, Kimbo. Yes, sir, baby. Prime Video. Got the Eagles on streaming. They're with the Chicago Bears. Isn't it funny? How come each and every single one of these games that have been released all have a theme? Rivalry, Cowboys, Lambeau, tush push, Bears, two legendary franchises, streaming, the Young Turk and Caleb Williams, right? Then you have what? Josh Harris and the Commanders in D.C. so that the president can show up for the game right there in your nation's capital. Yeah, I mean, come on. You've got Josh Harris versus the Eagle fans. Eagle fans hating on the Sixers. Oh, and by the way, did you hear what they're doing that night with the Washington Commanders and the Eagles? They happen to be playing a doubleheader in basketball. And guess who's going to be playing that night? The Philadelphia 76ers. How you doing? Tell me you don't see all this. This is made for TV, man. Let's kind of like give the Eagles a little bit, and the NFL a little bit of, what the Eagles are going to do. They're going to start out with a rivalry. Dallas Cowboys. That'll get the juices of the Eagle fans and Cowboy fans going back and forth. Eagle fans will be over here going like this. You were great. We are great. Cowboy fans saying you'll never be us. And then Eagle fans fight back. You'll never beat us, you mean? You'll never beat us, Cowboy fans keep saying. No. You'll never beat us, Eagle fans. That's what you'll be. And so the battle goes back and forth. The Lambeau one's going to be great, too. That's going to be a pretty good football. These are all going to be pretty good games. I happen to disagree with John. I think the Bears are going to be an improved football team. I don't know what Minnesota's going to do in the North. You got to figure out who your quarterback is. Where are you going? J.J. McCarthy? Sorry. I thought that was a fifth-round draft choice as well. I never saw that. We'll see. You know what I think J.J. McCarthy is? He's Anthony Richardson. I don't know. Anthony Richardson showed me more athleticism at Florida than J.J. McCarthy showed me by not throwing a football in the second half of a game to win a game. And that's not a guy I'm drafting in the first round if I don't have to rely on him. Okay? I agree, man. I think they got a good roster, Minnesota. You can have a good roster, but if you don't have a good quarterback, where are you going? Not going anywhere. Right? The Bear game. What do you mean you don't understand the Bear game? Do you know how, dude? You know, it's funny. I was watching that Celtics and Knicks game. By the way, can't believe it though. But here's ESPN. Two great franchises with great history. Hey, you'll have to excuse me, but I don't remember the Knicks history. I mean, 1973 was the last time they were relevant, really. Well, okay, Patrick Ewing, they got to a finals against Olajuwon. But outside of that, I must have missed this history. Where's this Knicks history? It'll be the first time in 25 years they're going to a conference final, too. What history are we talking about? The Knicks' great history. Like, the Knicks' great history. What are you, crazy? Right? I'm like, where are you going with that? Hit the like button, guys. We appreciate you coming aboard. I like this Bears game. Dude, the NFL wants Chicago. Dude, do you realize how bad Chicago sports is now? The Bears blow. The Blackhawks blow. The Cubs blow. The White Sox blow. There's nothing there that's good. Can you imagine covering sports in a city like Philly? Those fans are like you guys. They're passionate. They love their football team. And to be bad like that must really suck. Dude, the days of like the folks from Blue Island and from, Wheaton and the South Side, those days are gone in Chicago. It's like some soft ass city now. I mean, even the Bulls suck. There's not one team in Chicago that has any redeeming quality. What are you rooting for? Mediocrity? The Bears have done some stuff. Look, Ryan Poles' record. And to John's point, I'm a see it guy too. Has he improved the roster? Yes. But is that translated yet? No. Do you have to give it time? In today's NFL, you got 18 months. You're not on a 5-year building plan. Let me tell you something. If Howie and Nick lose that Dallas game, Eagle fans are going to, instead of giving the benefit and the honeymoon, over. But there's an expectation in Philly. Do you understand? There's an expectation. You can't lose the Cowboy game. In Dallas, they say this. Let's see how close we are to them. I think we can beat them. You think Philly's going into that game on September 4th going like this? Hey, we're going to give them a great effort. No, they're going in there going, how many points do you think we beat them by? There's a different mentality. Dallas is hope. Philadelphia's conviction. I know we're going to win. Get this. Both teams will be surprised in one way. If the Eagles lose, they'll be surprised. If the Cowboys win, they'll be surprised. Who do you think's in a better place? The Cowboys or the Eagles? There's the difference between the two franchises. Bears game capitalizing off of Pope and Nova. Okay. Anything TV related and anything theme, you're never going to be wrong, Kimbo, when it comes to the NFL. Ever. Okay? Ever. Ever. Well, I don't know what your shitty defense is going to look like yet. I don't. All right. 1 year ago today, the one player that made it so that the Philadelphia Eagles could win a Super Bowl Saquon Barkley was signed. Unbelievable. The difference maker. 1 year ago, Saquon Barkley was signed. What a difference maker. Let me ask you this. Who's the most important person in the huddle of the Philadelphia Eagles heading into 2025? Pick anybody. For them to win the Super Bowl this year, and say win 12 or north of 12 games, who is the one person you can't lose on offense? Who's the one person you can ill afford to lose? Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley. Without Barkley, you're not winning. Case closed. Nobody else. You don't win 14 games. How about this one? Do you believe you win 14 games if Barkley's not on that team? No. Your offense wasn't that good last year. Actually, your offense without Barkley was dog shit. Facts. Yeah, but we could have. Yeah, okay, well, we'll leave that to speculation. Just telling you who you are now. Without Saquon Barkley, the Commanders win the East. How you doing? 1 year ago today, your fortunes were changed by signing a guy who the New York Giants never built a team around. Is this Howie Roseman's greatest sign? Name me a better player that Howie Roseman has signed than Saquon Barkley. Free agent, drafted, anybody. Name me one player that he has signed or drafted that's better than Barkley. So you think the signing of A.J. Brown was more significant than the signing of Saquon Barkley? Is that right? So if you were going to start your team right now between the signing, if you had to choose between Barkley or A.J. Brown, actually, Lane Johnson was drafted by Chip. What's a better sign, A.J. or Barkley? Hurts is irrelevant in this conversation. I'm talking about stars. AJ Brown or Saquon Barkley. By the way, the reason we're doing that, today's the anniversary of Barkley signing 1 year ago with the Philadelphia Eagles. AJ or Barkley, who would you pick? I'm talking about stars here. So I'm not talking to her. I'm talking AJ Brown and Saquon. Really? Mulata's a good choice? Shit, I saw the Eagles play pretty good with Fred. AJ, so powerful. So was Barkley. I'm split. It's pretty close, Daniel. I'm not saying you it's okay. Seals, don't you agree this team shits the bed without AJ? We were slightly successful without Barkley. Man, I don't know. I hate not answering questions. My own questions, too. Because I do think AJ's important to this team. I really do. I think he's important to the run game. He's important, obviously, to the passing game. He's important to the development of the quarterback. Without him, there is absolutely no success for the quarterback because the quarterback has proven it. I'll say this. Barkley or A.J. Brown, what is a bigger sign by Howie? I don't know, man. When they signed AJ, there was a different vibe that was added to the team. Barkley's such an unassuming superstar. You know, he doesn't really, there's not a personality there. I'll tell you this, the reading of the books and the way he talks and some of the press conference stuff, some of the social media stuff. Don't you guys agree with one thing about AJ? It's just enough not to piss you off. Like Tyreek Hill goes overboard and it pisses you off. You know what I'm saying? The guy, some of the receivers, like the Malik Neighbors guy, I think he goes over the line. Or even CeeDee Lamb. AJ plays like T.O. He's a better blocker than T.O. Yeah, you're right, because T.O. didn't want to do it. You're right, but he could have. Am I right when I say that about A.J. Brown? He kind of goes to the line and doesn't really go over. You know what I mean? I mean, he does enough to like, come on, man. Or he'll say something or he'll do something, but it's never really a team destroyer like Owens was. So it kind of goes right to the line. I think it's calculated, is what I'm saying. He knows what he's doing. I think he knows what he's doing. I'm not ripping it. I think I actually like it. Because now, having heard him with his Ole Miss commencement speech, I think what he does is, I think a lot of it is orchestrated. And he pulls it off. The Eagles have not really been that interesting of a team. Would we not agree with this? Would we not agree that A.J. Brown has brought a little more drama to the team, and it's fun to cover them more than it has been ever before? Don't you think they're more interesting and they're fun to cover and watch, and all of the things that are going on around them? And I don't ever remember the Eagles outside when Owens was here. But that went over the line. Would we not agree that A.J. Brown has brought a personality to the Eagle organization? I think that's a great thing. Like, Jalen Hurts didn't get that team on TV. The drama of the team did. And that's orchestrated by AJ. But personally, I don't think Hurts is that interesting. Then again, I never thought Tom Brady was that interesting. I still don't. It's not really a rip. I don't think Tom Brady's interesting. Okay? I mean, see, here's something this douchebag doesn't get. Oh, no. I take that back, M. Reyes. No. It's actually compelling. It's actually compelling, M. Reyes. You're right. How about this? It makes me, what do you say? It makes it actually appointment setting television, doesn't it? Yeah. Howie's biggest sign was Carson Wentz. He started everything. I never thought Carson Wentz didn't make me watch the Eagles. A.J. Brown makes me watch. Dude, Barkley doesn't. Well, Barkley does, because every single time he touched the ball, I thought he was going to hit his head on the goalpost. I did. I think A.J. Brown has brought a personality that this team hasn't had since Owens. But it's a better Owens. How about that? Is this not better to say? A.J. Brown's a better Owens in every way. Would you not say that? That A.J. Brown is a better Owens. On the field. Off the field. He gives you sound bites that are too crazy. He hates the fact the Eagles hate the fact the offense in the passing game sucked. Right? I did say he's a better version of Owens. Is he better than Owens? Who would you rather have as a wide receiver right now on this Eagle team? Terrell Owens or A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown. He blocks in the run game. He's interesting. He's not too much of a dick. And he's good. Who would you rather have? T.O. or A.J.? I'm going to say A.J. A.J. is going to leave this place soon. Maybe 2 years. But it'll be the greatest era of wide receiver in Eagle history when he leaves. The amount of winning, the numbers, the other achievement. Get this. Do you know the only position that will not be looked at when you look back on everything? Barkley will have the greatest running era in the history of Eagle football. The wide receivers will have the greatest era in Eagle history. The quarterback will not. You see the Grace last night? Mass with a 1.8% shot winning the NBA lottery. A Bret Hart tapping out to Shawn Michaels with his finishing type move. Adam Silver, Vince McMahon. They had a 1.8% chance of winning that lottery for Cooper Flagg last night, and they nailed it because of the trade to the Lakers. Hey, man, Patrick Ewing's going, and LeBron's going, me to Cleveland? Yeah. Right? I got you too, pup. I got it, man. Sills was saying AJ will never, you're not going to make the Hall of Fame ranked 170th. You're not. Okay, AJ's better than T.O., who's a top 5 all-time wide receiver. Game's different now, dude. Wide receivers, football's getting thrown 50 times a game. It's not the same era. Owens played in an era where you can get mugged. Pass interference wasn't a big deal. Wide receivers today, defenseless wideouts, the way they cover the guys, that's why Isaiah Rodgers has a job. Do you know what the NFL is today compared to what it was when Owens played? There used to be a thing in the NHL called the instigator rule. Guys like Brad Marchmont and all the goons that used to play in the league used to have a job because prior to the instigator rule, you got to kick the shit out of people for nothing. Then all of a sudden, when they put the instigator rule in, what happened? Dale Fleury, Marty St. Louis, smaller guys were able to play in the NHL. Why? You couldn't beat the little guys up anymore. They wanted more spread out open on the ice and more scoring. They didn't want blood on the ice. They wanted goals in net. That's what television is. That's why the NHL now is also experiencing good numbers. They don't want blood on the ice. Even though I think they're crazy not to have it. Look at UFC. The NFL instigated an instigator rule. It's called pass interference. Do you understand that? In today's NFL, there's an instigator rule. Don't touch the wideouts. Let the wideouts have space. You can't have a hip drop tackle anymore. How are you supposed to get these guys on the ground? Do you have any idea how to tackle anybody today? Because I don't. I mean, there's an instigator rule. Don't hit the wideouts. T.O. played in that era where you can mug the guys. Those guys were fantastic hockey guys, but they couldn't play in today's NHL, Kyle. Owens did what in the league called Garcia. Listen, this is how I handle that. If I'm the quarterback of the 49ers and I hear that and I see that in the media, you know how Jalen Hurts, I think, would have handled that? That's his opinion. And then let the player, and then get this, I would cover for the player. And I would say, hey, look, man, I need this guy to win. I'm sorry he made those comments because you know that Owens was going to walk him back. He ended up walking him back anyway. Sometimes guys say stupid shit. And Owens was known to say stupid shit. I'm not going to castrate that guy if that guy can help me win a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, McNabb never got that message. McNabb was a horrible leader. He didn't know how to handle his players, from Deshaun Jackson to Owens. Hurts knows how to handle them. Doesn't say shit to him. And he, most importantly, doesn't say shit in the media about him. The best thing that Jalen Hurts does is not say anything. Gastineau and his dad dance back then. Hey, dude. He was the father and the godfather of the sack dance. Absolutely. You know what? Again, too, you got to remember something. Donovan McNabb's a great football player, but a horrible team leader. Hurts is nowhere near McNabb as an athlete. But you know where he's better than? Just the same way he's better than Lamar. Until Lamar Jackson shows me he sees the game like Hurts, he'll never, in my book, be a player that I would put ahead of Jalen Hurts. It's the Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers conversation. Hurts is not a top 3 talent. Hurts is a top 3 player. There's two different things. You're not building your team around Jalen Hurts. If you're starting as a franchise and you're starting with an expansion team, that's not happening. He's down in the 20s. Okay? That's not happening. But if I've got a team, like, let me tell you, do you know where Jalen Hurts should go win a Super Bowl? What team right now do you think Jalen Hurts could go in the NFL and win a Super Bowl today? Name me one. Name me one team outside of Philly he could go to and win a Super Bowl. Name me one team. That's right. You put him on that Vikings team with Jefferson and Addison and that O-line and that D coordinator, win the Super Bowl there. That team's ready to win a Super Bowl. You imagine Hurts running around in the NFC North? He'd win the Super Bowl with that team. Shit, he might win it with the Bears. Detroit. Every one of the, here's where he would be awful. Jacksonville, Cincinnati, the Jets, the Giants. Tennessee. He'd be great in Tampa. I think that dude just needs a good wideout, a good D coordinator, and a really good O-line. Jalen Hurts is going to win some ball games for you. Is it going to look like you want it to look? Nope. Don't draft wideouts. Draft a wideout. Get a complimentary. Would we not make this comparison? Since last night had the NBA lottery last night, is Devontae Smith the equivalent of Scottie Pippen to A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown is Jordan, and Devontae is like Pippen. Is that fair? Right? I don't believe Devontae Smith could ever be a decent, like a superstar one. I just don't. There's games I've seen him on the field when AJ's not on the field. He's not, I don't even know he was on the field. When AJ's not on the field, I know that. I feel his presence not on the field. When Devontae's not on the field, I don't know. As long as AJ's there, I don't really feel the guy. And I love that player. I dislike the narrative that suggests a quarterback succeeds alone. Name one quarterback who didn't have a team built around him. I'll wait. Joe Montana. John Elway. Prior to Davis getting there. Went to 3 Super Bowls. Let's see. Tom Brady. Joe Flacco. I'll name you a couple who won Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes. Hope that answered your question. Mahomes had a tight end. Patrick Mahomes will play with one player that will make the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his entire time in Kansas City. Maybe. Montana won the first Super Bowl with nobodies. You know, I heard Jeff Kerr say Montana had a team around him. Name me one guy that was on the offense in the first Super Bowl that he won that went to the Hall of Fame. Joe didn't play with a Hall of Fame player until he got Rice. Really? Name me one player on the Montana team that won the Super Bowl in 82. Rice wasn't there. Montana had him? That's a lie. His receivers were Freddie Solomon and another dude. That's a freaking lie. Dwight Clark's not a Hall of Famer. Who said Dwight Clark was a Hall of Fame player? Why, because he had the catch? That is untrue. Montana played with none. There was no Hall of Famer in the entire 4 years or 4 Super Bowls outside of Rice. that he played with. What are you talking about on offense? Montana played with one Hall of Famer for 14 years. One. Roger Craig's not a Hall of Famer. Not one. Roger Craig is not a Hall of Famer. What are you talking about? I'll wait. There wasn't one offensive lineman that Joe Montana ever played with that went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Not one. There was no tight end. There was one receiver. No running back. Nothing. Ever. Hey, name me a Hall of Fame skilled player that Tom Brady played with outside of Gronkowski that won a Super Bowl. He played with one Hall of Famer in New England. One. Moss didn't win a Super Bowl. What goalpost moved? Somebody said, name me a quarterback that didn't have a good team around him. I said, Montana. How's that a goalpost? He won a Super Bowl with no Jerry Rice. He did. Here, guys. So you can see that these two idiots in here, and Twiz is one of them too. Here. Let's see here. Is this the team that won the Super Bowl? Yeah. Here were Joe Montana's players that were on the team. His running backs were Amos Lawrence and Ricky Patton. His wide receivers were Freddie Solomon and Ronaldo Nehemiah and Mike Wilson. His O-linemen were John Ayers, Randy Cross, Fred Quinlan, and Keith Von Horst. That's who he won the Super Bowl with. End of story. We move on. Next time you ask a question, kind of have something behind it there. Never did he play until after with Rice, with a Hall of Fame player. And Brady's never played and won a Super Bowl in New England with anybody outside of Gronk that's going to Canton. Name me one. Now, again, some of you have shit in your ears, so I'll clean it out for you. That won a Super Bowl in New England. Dwight Clark is not in the freaking Hall of Fame. Dwight Clark, I don't even believe Dwight Clark had a 1,000-yard year at any time in his career. Take a look at this. He did 1 year. 1105, 900, 900, 800, 880, 705. He had 6,700 yards. That's not going to get you into Canton. Ever. Dude, once again, Jason, on offense, Tom Brady never played with a Hall of Fame player that won a Super Bowl that was a skilled set player like a wideout or tight end other than Rob Gronkowski. Those are facts. Brady's never had the team that Jalen Hurts has. And he won 6 of them in New England because he had a great defense. He didn't need superstar players. He was the superstar. Be misreading the chat when you're, hey, flexing. You're fucking wrong. Okay, Dick Stick, you're wrong. Brady had a crazy-ass squad with them New England teams. A lot of all pros. Like I said, Tom Brady never played with a Hall of Fame player that was a skilled player outside of Gronkowski. Ever. Who is the Hall of Famer on our team? Lane? Kelsey? I don't believe Barkley. I think Barkley and AJ are going to be knocking at the door. I don't believe they're there now. Your quarterback's not making it. Seals, wasn't Roger Staubach the same? There wasn't Hall of Fame skilled players, I remember, on the first Super Bowl. Well, no, that's not true. Pearson made the Hall of Fame. And I think there's 2 guys in the O-line that made it. Then again, that's not skilled. So to your point, I think it's just Drew Pearson. Oh, wait. The speed guy who was in the Olympics who won the gold medal was also on that team, Bob Hayes. I believe Bob Hayes and Drew Pearson were on that 71 team that won the Super Bowl. Maybe Drew hadn't there yet, but I think Bob Hayes was on that team. Okay? So when Prince says these guys all have had good players around them, this is why I say this. Do you think Peyton Manning underachieved when you had Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Edgerrin James, Marshall Faulk, and Peyton Manning, and you win 1 Super Bowl in Indianapolis? I don't know. Sounds to me like you didn't really cash in. Damon Woody had that, or Tom Brady had that. Damon Woody plus more. Damon Woody's not a Hall of Famer. Damon Woody's a good ball player. Hall of Famer, no. Once again, Tom Brady has not, and there won't be a Hall of Famer outside of Gronk in the entire 20 years offensively that he played that won a Super Bowl. Mike Evans is the only other guy that Brady will play with in his entire career that will make it to the Hall of Fame. It'll be Evans and Gronk in his 25 years that he won Super Bowls are the only people that will make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm making it up. Name me another one. I'm making it up? How are you making it up? Name me one. No. I'll change the topic in a second, Leon. I'm making what up? Making what up? I said, once again, from the very beginning, that Tom Brady, offensively, and Joe Montana, because Prince put this out there, played with 1 Hall of Famer in their entire career, offensively. A skilled set guy. Joe played with Rice, and Brady played with Gronk. That's it. That's it. Shit, you can make the argument Steve Young played with less and won. Niners. Niner all day. How many Hall of Famers were on that team that blew out? Randy Moss did not win a fucking Super Bowl in New England. He's never won one. Never. Never. Get this. Hey, you know what folks are doing now? They're trying to make excuses for their guy because he's got a loaded team around him. Don't be upset about that. There's quarterbacks that don't need to have people around them, and there's guys that do. Your guy needs them. It's okay. It's okay. With that, we will move on. Hey, remember, your guy needs them. Players like Montana and Brady don't. They don't need them. That's what separates those guys. There's those dudes, and then there's those dudes. Your guy's one of those guys. Those are just a select group of dudes. And he's not that. Shit, John Elway's not that. John Elway's down there too. It's okay. It happens. All right. Boomer Esiason is going to join us at 3:30. The legendary former CBS guy and also WFAN morning man will join us at 3:30. That will be at the bottom of the hour. Okay. Here's another topic for you. Is Howie Roseman taking the 2025 year off? What's the most significant thing that Howie has done so far this year since February 9th? For the new 2025 season. What's he done? Sills, 2 weeks ago, the Hall of Famer Damon Woody said on ESPN, the reason Sanders is dropped in the 5th round was because he wasn't good. Sills said, too, he's not good. I think Shedeur Sanders is a 5th round talent. I think he's decent. I get, like I said, I didn't have a problem with Brady coming out of Michigan. I didn't think he was a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd rounder. But I never thought that. Shedeur Sanders is never in any way. What did he win? He was 13-12 at Colorado. Brady went 13-1, I think his final year, won the Orange Bowl. I mean, you got to win something, don't you? Bro, let me get back onto my topic with something that makes sense. Because Prince got destroyed in that topic that he said, wait, and he can't handle getting his ass beat like a puppy. He got his ass beat. So we'll just go on here. What has Howie Roseman done to better the team in 2025? Hook me up. I think he's taking the year off. So go ahead. I'll wait. What's he done? He signed Zach Bond. Okay. He brought back Zach Bond. Okay. What else? I think Howie's taking the 2025 year off. Okay? What's next? What's he done? Jahad Campbell signed a guy who might not play this year. Drafted a guy, who might not play this year. Okay? Drafted a player at number 31 who might not play. Okay. Next. Next. No. I just took it from Howie, who said he might not, and he's a future pick. Go back to the press conference that he held. I'm just taking his words. Give me another one. He extended Jordan Davis. He didn't extend him. He picked up the fifth-year option. Fifth-year option for Davis. Okay. What else did he do? I'll take that. He extended Cam Jurgens. Okay. So far, since February 9th, he's extended or given a new contract to Zach Bond. Very good. He drafted a guy who might not play this year, or at least half the season he may play. Okay? That was said at the press conference. He will not be ready for training camp. But I'm assuming that many of you are taking what happened with Cooper DeJean last year, that you're probably applying that same mentality, that he'll do the same thing that Jihad Campbell should do, right? Come right off of the injuries and just drop right in. And he's probably going to have the same DNA and all that of Cooper DeJean, and he'll be ready to play like week 5, something like that. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Seals, he blowtorched the defense. I'm just asking what he, and I'm not going to, I like that, Kyle. So let me see. He's to improve the team in 2025, and I think he's taking a season off. He's given Zach Bond a contract. I think that's important. He's drafted a guy who may not play this year. He picked a fifth-year option up on Jordan Davis. And he gave an extension to Cam Jurgens. What else? That will help secure another Super Bowl title in 25. Anything else? Hey, guys, I'm just asking questions. I'm writing them down here. This is not even me. This is you. You guys are saying this. Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert. Got him to take a pay cut. Okay. Got him to take a pay cut. So let me I want to put this in order here. Okay? Offensive, defensive priorities. Zach Bond, contract. Drafted a guy who might not play this year. Fifth-year option. Oh, no. Yeah, fifth-year option on Davis. Okay. On offense, got it. Didn't really need to do much over there. Pretty much everybody's back. So here are the most significant things that Howie's done since February 9th. Okay? And the draft. Got to put the draft in there because you don't know what they're going to do. Good or bad. No indictment. You know, the only indictment you have is if a guy's injured or not. And his availability. You draft a guy on draft day who's not available to you right away. I mean, I don't know. It's got to be pause for something. Here. So here's what he's done since February 9th. He lowballed Goddard. Good for him. That's a win. Gave Bond a contract extension. Fifth-year option on Davis. And let's do this. What significant thing has he done to better the defense? You had Bond a year ago. You had Davis. So drafting Jahad Campbell and the draft with the draft picks. The free agents, we'll see. I don't know. I wouldn't call day 7 free agent signings a windfall. I mean, that's not a windfall. These guys are like day 7 signings. Okay. How do you think that offseason's been? 5th-year option on Davis. Zach Bond contract. Drafting of a kid who may not play this year. The draft. Picking at 31, or 32, actually. And Goddard situation. How's it gone so far, you think? Does that enhance your chances of repeating? I'm not saying. I said may. I didn't say. I said may. I would listen to the GM. Go back and listen to Howie Roseman. Here. Howie Roseman. Here, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make it very simple. Howie Roseman on Jahad Campbell. Let's just go there. I'm not even typing anything in. Okay? Here we go. I'll just take it at him. Here. We picked Jahad Campbell. We made a small trade up to ensure that we could get him. There were a lot of trades in the 20s. So we just wanted to make sure that someone didn't jump ahead of us. Excited to have him, really excited to have him. Wasn't really something we anticipated. They didn't even really anticipate drafting a linebacker, and I get that. It's a future pick. You know, I don't know how much he'll have an impact this year, but we believe he'll play here a long time. Okay? Don't get upset. I missed the super. If I did, we'll put it up. I promise you. Wait, Sills, Lane is the only Hall of Famer in Hurts' huddle. Hold on here. I said skill set player. Brady didn't play with I'm not talking about Hall of Fame offensive lineman. A skilled player. Montana didn't have Rice's first Super Bowl. Bro, Montana did not have Jerry Rice in 1982 when they won the Super Bowl. He did not. That is a freaking lie. Montana or Rice, look it up. Rice wasn't drafted until like the mid or late 80s. Like 85 he was drafted. Dude, what are you talking about? Jerry Rice did not play with Montana on the first Super Bowl. It is a freaking lie. It is a lie. Thank you. They won the Super Bowl in 82. But on to me. Sills, in previous years, Howie has used the offseason to close the gap on whoever was leading the pack. Now Howie's leading the pack. This offseason, he hit the pits for the tires and fuel. Hey, Bob, don't you agree? This looks like a reset year. Right? No. He said, name me a quarterback who didn't have a great team around him. And I said Montana. And I said Brady. If you put another person on that New England team during Brady's 20 years in New England, they win no Super Bowls. None. They didn't have star players. Edelman, Amendola, Welker, those guys weren't star players. The quarterback made him a star. Okay? So one Super Bowl win matters for the rest. No. Hey, it proves to me the guy doesn't need to have superstar players like Mahomes. He doesn't have to have Tyreek Hill on his team to win. He wins anyway. Even though they got to a Super Bowl and they lost, Mahomes still took his team to the Super Bowl with guys like Rashid Rice and nobody wideouts and an aging tight end. There's certain quarterbacks that don't need great players around them. There's certain players that elevate C players in the A. You got A players around Hurts. Those other guys have C and D players. You totally misunderstood that super. No, I don't know. Put it back up. Let me see if I misunderstood it. Wait, so Lane is the only Hall of Famer in Hurts' huddle. Okay, I wasn't talking about a lineman like Montana having Rice. Montana also had Rathman, Jones, Craig, and Taylor. They were good players. They weren't. Wait a minute. Tom Rathman and Roger Craig are not Saquon Barkley. Those guys were good players because Montana was a sensational player. According to you, Barkley and Brown, not Hall. No, I'm telling you, Barkley and Brown are not Tom Rathman and John Taylor. That's what I'm telling you. You miss what you're saying. You're trying to compare Barkley and Brown to a guy named John Taylor and Roger Craig. Is that what you're saying? Roger Craig is nowhere near Saquon Barkley's ability. And A.J. Brown is superior to any. Do any of you even know who John Taylor is? Tom Rathman was just a fullback dude. Brent Jones is nowhere near Goddard. What are you talking about? You're elevating the players that Montana played with to make your narrative fit because Barkley and Brown are not those type of players. Those guys are not even remotely close to Hall of Fame players. Maybe Roger Craig. And by the way, no, agreed. Taylor wasn't even on the 82 team, and nor was Rothman, nor was Brent Jones, and nor was Roger Craig. He didn't have those guys. I mean, Craig, you know who Craig was? Craig was the first Christian McCaffrey. So who would you rather have? McCaffrey or Saquon? I'm not saying, I just said it. Roger was the closest to being that Hall of Fame player. I think Roger Craig's a great football player. And get this. One thing Montana did, though, you remember the comment that Xander made about Hurts winning? When they started putting some of the good players around him and they got Rice, he blew out in the Super Bowl Elway and Marino. Never threw a pick, never lost, 140 quarterback rating. He never was defeated. Ever. Those games were never close except for two. The 2 Bengal games, actually. And he played against an MVP who's coming up here in a couple minutes in Boomer Esiason. You know, Boomer made a really interesting comment about Jalen Hurts that we're going to ask. How do you think he's handled playing with the contract? Okay? Sills, Montana didn't have a great team, but Brady had sensational defenses. So does Hurts last year. I said that. I said Joe had really good players. Then he had Rice and a great defense. But he wasn't littered and surrounded by the type of talent that Jalen has. He didn't need it. That's all I said. And again, somebody asked the question, name me a quarterback who's had great players around him. Tom Brady never really did. And won the Super Bowl. I watched them win in 89 and 90. Good players. Anthony, I was on the sideline for that Super Bowl that beat the guy coming up here in a minute. Boomer Esiason was my teammate at Maryland, believe it or not. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. I've never seen anybody like that. 90 seconds left in the game in the Super Bowl. He had to go 90 yards. And they took an illegal procedure penalty and then went right down the field and won the Super Bowl. Montana was just, I've never seen anything like it. I think he's better than Brady, but Brady's got the hardware. He just got the hardware. And by the way, it's not a negative that you have a great organization building around Jalen. There's just certain guys that can do it. That's what Josh Allen's being asked to do. I'm not sure he can do that. As good a player as I think he is, I'm not sure he can do that. Sills, Howie taking a reset year might be too strong. It was a negative take. I'd go with retooled. I will say Howie's mindset has changed to focus more on the defense since working with Vic. I think because there's been more turnover on that side of the ball. There's no turnover now, except for Becton, right, on offense. And I think he feels pretty comfortable with, Stoutland being able to suffice a player by putting him there. And I think they're going to get away with it. You know what? Can I tell you? If anything, I think that right guard position is the guard position where they save money. They destroyed Elway at 90. They did. When John went to those 3 losing Super Bowls, he had nothing on those teams. They were terrible. And remember, they were like people back in the day. They just were. I mean, it was amazing, on what those teams were able to do. Again, my comment about playing quarterback when I played, or like, we're going to get Boomer up here in a second. When Boomer played, dude, like when you see guys when Boomer Esiason played in that Super Bowl against Montana, think about this when Joe won his first Super Bowl. Joe was throwing to Freddie Solomon. I mean, I don't even remember who Boomer was throwing to in that game. I was on the sidelines because Kevin Fagan got me tickets and I was watching. Back then you had the accessibility. And Boomer was the MVP that year. Dude, when you're in college, you're told where to throw the ball. When you're in the NFL, if you don't have it here, knowing where to throw with your pre-snap reads, you're done. I'll tell you this. Before we get going, I wonder how much Tom Brady, Gronk was texting a couple of my friends the other day telling that Tom Brady was texting Shedeur Sanders during the draft and kept telling him, hey, don't get upset. Don't get upset. It's where you go. It's not where you land in the draft. What team you go to. Take advantage of it. Boomer Esiason had to be the most pissed off guy in 1984. Tell you why. I'm sitting with Pete Koch and Ron Salt. And these 2 dudes went in the first round. We had a great team in 83. We had a great Maryland team. Boomer goes in the second round to the Bengals. I remember, man, he'd come back on campus. He's like, yeah, well, it's all right. And I always thought that was the fuel that fired him up. And it led to a great career in the NFL. WFAN's morning guy and our dear friend, Boomer Esiason, joins us now. Boomer, how much did that tick you off for me? You went in a second. By the way, did that hang with you like it did with Brady? Every single draft, Brady puts up that Ichabod Crane, and he's sitting there. How much did that carry the fuel for you?
Well, Dan, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me on. I still, to this day, wonder what happened and why I did fall to, I think, number 38 overall, which was the 10th pick in the second round because there were only 28 teams back then. But you know what it was that I found out in subsequent years? It was my attitude. It was who I was as a player. You remember me in college. I was a pain in the ass. I was driving around in a big red truck with big old tires on it. I had Terp QB on my license plate. And a lot of coaches and a lot of general managers didn't like that. Now, a lot of guys wouldn't tell me that during that time. Of course, they didn't want to hurt my feelings. But as I grew older, as I talked to more people during my career, and then well after my career in the media career that I've started, or that I've had, I asked a lot of people, like, what happened to me? Now, if you remember, I separated my left shoulder in our Citrus Bowl, which was at my last game. Reggie White separated it, thanks to Reggie. I actually threw at the combine down in New Orleans. I was a loudmouth in the newspapers regarding Ben Bennett, the quarterback at Duke. He was an All-American. I wasn't. I was pissed about that. So there's a lot of similarities to me and Shedeur Sanders, believe it or not. I mean, I wasn't, having draft day parties thinking that I was a legend already. Maybe I was a legend in my own mind. I'm not sure. I mean, he's taking it to a whole nother level. So I can understand totally why he dropped. It may not have anything to do with his ability to play on the field or throw the football or run or any of that stuff. But it probably scared a lot of people from drafting him because they were afraid that he was going to come in and change the culture. And he's saying that now in Cleveland, Dan. So Cleveland got what I think they thought they were going to get. And it's going to be quite interesting watching how this thing unfolds out there in Cleveland.
So did it humble you then? And do you think that this will humble him in a way where, again, you had what probably really even put the cherry on top of the cake was you had two Terps drafted ahead of you that went in the first round that are our dear friend. Ron had a really good career. Pete, maybe not so much, but Pete's gone on to do great things too. We love them both very much. But again, did that humble you?
Of course it did, because there were a lot of people that were happy that I fell out of the first round, and it really is. I mean, you wake up the next morning and you just feel like you're embarrassed. I will say, to Ron and Pete's credit, they waited for me for our press conference at the University of Maryland because the first and second, third and fourth round, fifth and sixth round, I think were in the first day. I think there were 12 rounds back then, maybe 14. I'm not sure, and those guys waited for me for the press conference at the University of Maryland. And the thing that I really felt bad about at that particular press conference was I felt like it was really about me falling to the second round as opposed to Pete rising in the first round and then Ronnie being selected where everybody thought he was going to be selected. So they waited for me. I felt like there was a shadow over that whole press conference. And then Pete and I went out to Cincinnati, and believe it or not, Peter King picked us up at the airport as he was writing for the Cincinnati Enquirer. And I don't know how both of us fit in his car. I don't know. I think it was I forget what kind of car it was, but somehow we fit in his car. And I said, I cannot believe this is the NFL. So the Bengals ended up drafting the guy who many people were probably afraid of, a real pain in the ass.
Well, I'll tell you this, that car must have been bigger than Vic Kronberg's car. So I'll leave it. Yes. I'll leave it there. So today is the 1-year anniversary of Barkley signing with the Eagles. You look back on that whole storyline now, and your takeaway is what? It's 1 year today that it became official that he is a Philadelphia Eagle.
Well, to his credit, he picked a better team. I mean, the Eagles are basically a well-built team. Howie Roseman has done a great job there. And they were missing a stud running back. And they knew that if you put him on the field with Jalen Hurts and those wide receivers and that tight end and that offensive line, he was going to have a productive year. Nobody, and I mean nobody, Dan, thought he was going to have the year that he ultimately had. I mean, this is one of the greatest years a running back ever had. And unfortunately for the Giants and Joe Shane and Brian Dable, they had to watch it from, 60 miles away up I-95, which was the ultimate embarrassment. And then, he gets to the Super Bowl, they win the Super Bowl. It could be one of the worst ever situations that an NFL or any team for that matter here in New York has ever had with one of their former players, and how they went on to go out and actually have the season that Saquon had. So I think it was a great move by Saquon, a great move by the Eagles, and unfortunately for the Giants, they have some egg on their face.
Boomer, you said one of the most profound things about Jalen Hurts when he signed that $250 million contract. You said he's got to learn how to play with it. And, it didn't resonate with me until a couple months after, and you start watching. Then the 23 season happened, and there was an implosion after he signed that, and there wasn't very much leadership at the end. And I think right then and there, we were all thinking, maybe he's got to grow into this. Then I'd see him a year ago, 2903, 2905 in touchdown yardage, 18 touchdowns. And I say this, that's not a guy I'm building my team around. But then you look at his resume, boom, he's got 2 Super Bowl appearances. He's won one of them now. His win percentage has been amazing on what you see where this guy is. I mean, how do you look at Jalen Hurts? I mean, is he a top 5 guy in your opinion? Or is it a distinction? Is it different? He's not Josh Allen, but what is he?
Well, he should be a 2-time Super Bowl winner is what he should be, because, he played a great game in his first Super Bowl and would have been the MVP had it not been for a fumble return for a touchdown in that game. So I remember talking to WIP in Philadelphia 2 years into his career, and they were asking me, do you think he can lead your team to the Super Bowl? I said, well, I'm not really sure, but I will tell you this. He's about as competitive a guy as I can remember at that position. So he brings a dual threat capability. He's had to learn a little bit more about the NFL game as he has gone on. He's had to deal with some unique personalities on that team. Let's face it. Fortunately enough for him, and I always say this about all young quarterbacks, really your development depends on who drafts you, who's your coach, who's your general manager, and what is the team like when you get there. So like a guy like Cam Ward, they're in the middle of a rebuild down in Tennessee. So he's going to struggle this year. I don't care what anybody says. A guy like, let's say, Patrick Mahomes, who sits for a year in Kansas City. He's got Andy Reid there as his coach, and he's got a really good general manager. They are building the team around him, and he takes over his second year. It took Jalen a little bit, longer than normal for him to be able to settle in. Had a little bit of a dip last year, prior to last year, and then came back up like a house of fire because he had Saquon Barkley added to that offense. So the situation for him to be productive and to be successful is there. Not every quarterback can say that. I think the Bears are trying to do that for Caleb Williams right now. And we'll see whether or not, the coaching change and some of the add-ons that they've gone through this offseason are going to make that big of a difference for that young man. I would think that it will. But I think Jalen's in the perfect spot, Dan. And he's turned out to be a really top-end quarterback. And like I said, a dual threat and maybe even a better thrower than we thought.
I'm going to give you a little bit of insight here, and I want you to tell me if I can apply this correctly or not correctly. So I asked Jimmy Johnson why he didn't have success with Dan Marino. And Jimmy said this, there was really a tug of war between us a little bit because I wanted to run the ball more, and Dan didn't want the ball taken out of his hand. He just didn't. I mean, he gave me a quote. He goes, in Dan Marino's entire time when he was quarterback there, he had one 1,000-yard rusher, and his name was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of all things.
Yes.
I mean, it's the only guy he's ever had. And Jimmy said, I tried to tell him, for you to be a better player as you're going along in your career here, we need a run game. Dan didn't want the ball taken out of his hand. He's like, we were fourth in offense last year. What is he talking about? So Jalen last year, after week 4, they were 2-2, boom. All of a sudden, they took the ball out of his hands. More. They didn't throw the ball like they did the year before or the first 4 games. He was throwing it around 21 times a game versus 38 times. And they ran the ball more because of Barkley. But there was Hurts going, well, I'm going to pull an Aikman. I'm going to do what's best for the unit. Is that how I should read that? That quarterback sacrificed a part of his game where a lot of guys that I know wouldn't. sacrifice a part of their game.
I mean, different times, different people, different situations. You know, I was the master of the play action pass. They took the ball out of my hands late in the '88 season, my MVP season. And, you know, quite frankly, I didn't mind it. I mean, we ran the ball effectively on everybody, had the biggest offensive line in the NFL, kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles have now. And, you know, we had Icky Woods, we had James Brooks, you know, they obviously have Saquon, they have the wide receivers, they have everything. And by the way, you know, a part of that run game is Jalen Hurts himself.
Yes.
So, you know, he gains a lot of yards on the ground. So that's the whole dual threat aspect to it. I love the play action pass. I mean, so are you going to put 7 in the box and try to stop the pass, or are you going to put 8 in the box and try to stop the run? And if you try to stop the run and you run a play action, one of your talented wide receivers on the outside is going to be one-on-one, and barely anybody can cover those guys. So especially in this day and age with the rules the way they are. So I really appreciate what, you know, Jalen has done. And, you know, to go back to the Jimmy Johnson, Dan Marino thing, you know, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I don't care what anybody says, especially when you have a head coach who has won Super Bowls with the Dallas Cowboys and had a Hall of Fame quarterback in his own right in Troy Aikman. And you're right, Troy did sacrifice because he had Emmitt Smith and because he had that big offensive line. Sounds a lot like the Philadelphia Eagles, doesn't it?
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, so it's hard to teach a guy like Dan Marino, who is so gifted and so talented and always had been the man and always had thrown at least 35 times a game, to be different. And, you know, maybe his career would have lasted a little bit longer had he really paid it, you know, a little bit more homage to Jimmy Johnson as opposed to always fighting him every which way on offense. But it's unfortunate that two guys that great, two Hall of Fame people in Jimmy Johnson and Dan Marino couldn't ever get their act together. Absolutely.
Couple more for you here. Boom. Jaden Daniels, is he the best quarterback in the NFC East?
That's a good question. I mean, it's a loaded group with Dak and Jalen. I'm not sure what the Giants are going to be doing. You know, they're going to start obviously with Russell Wilson. We'll see whether or not they're pressed into playing Jackson Dart anytime soon. I hope not for his sake. I hope he gets a chance to sit and watch, kind of like Carson Palmer and Patrick Mahomes and a lot of other great quarterbacks have. But I would say that he's trending in that direction because he's such a superstar athlete. And that kid can throw the ball 80 yards, man. I mean, he is ridiculous. And the way that he handled himself last year was, you know, a sight to behold. But now he comes back this year, there are going to be huge expectations. And Dan, all you have to do is to see what a quarterback means to a franchise. What did they just announce? A $7 billion stadium. Yeah. And that's exactly what they're doing up in Buffalo. That's what they did out in Cincinnati. You get that quarterback, all of a sudden, the entire political spectrum changes around that team. And lo and behold, they're going to have a new stadium, I think, by 2029 or 2030.
You know, I've been saying this, Boom. I wonder if you agree that if Dak Prescott wants to win a Super Bowl, it won't be in Dallas. It's just, I mean, there's just too many things that, and too much noise just, it seems to be around the program, where when Jimmy was there was one guy in charge of personnel. There was one guy in charge of hiring. There was one guy, this is the way we were going to do it. You know, the only person that he hasn't been able to replace, Jerry Jones, has truly been Jimmy Johnson. I mean, he's replaced everybody else in the room, but he's not been able to replace, you know, the head coach. Dak, him being back means what to Dallas?
Well, first and foremost, I like the fact I'm a Brian Schottenheimer fan. I know that sounds, you know, Dallas Cowboy fans be like, it's not a big enough name for us. But, you know, keeping the same offense, having the same terminology, adding a few assets like they just did with the trade that they made with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think all of that stuff is good. So personally, he's on a comeback trail this year. He got hurt last year. If he stays healthy, they have the potential of winning 10 games. I think their defense is going to be really good this year. So if I sat here and told you that they're going to win north of 9 games, would you be surprised? I wouldn't be.
No, I would not be. Boom, last one for you. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, how much damage do you think he's done to the perception and how people see him in the last 5 years? I mean, 5 years, look at it. You got 2 guys, Boom, from Green Bay. And as bad as the things have happened for Favre off the field, I say this to you, in 10 years from now, Packer fans will revere Brett Favre way more than they'll ever revere Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers is the better quarterback, in my opinion. He's the better QB, but they're going to revere that guy.
You know, he and I have something in common. We both crashed and burned in New York as older quarterbacks in our career. So I kind of understand a little bit of what he was dealing with. So I'm not going to be quite as negative towards him. I know he's a very outspoken, very thoughtful, very deep thinker. I kind of like Aaron. He reminds me of my son Gunnar. You know, very bright, and sometimes when you're the smartest guy in the room, or you think you're the smartest guy in the room, it gets very frustrating. I think he really, I don't think he liked Woody Johnson at all. I don't think he liked the way that the Jets ran their team with him. I think he really liked Rob Saleh, and I also think that he liked Joe Douglas. I think he liked both of those guys, and I think he liked Christopher Johnson, Woody's brother, the co-owner of the Jets. But for some reason, he and Woody just did not see eye to eye on a lot of different things. I don't know if it had anything to do with politics away from the field, but it seems to me when he went on Pat McAfee's show, and he basically said he had never been cut by a teenager, meaning Brick Johnson, Woody's son, that's when I said he's going to get cut and he's not coming back. And all Woody did was hire Aaron Glenn to make sure he delivered the message that you're not coming back, because Woody wouldn't want to do it himself.
All right, I'm going to let you out of here with this one. Tush push next week. Does it get voted out of the league, or do they keep it in for this coming season?
I think they keep it in for this coming season. I think there's just too much pushback by the teams that run it and are successful with it. And if I were the Philadelphia Eagles, I'd be like, stop it first before you start crying about it. And everybody's talking about injury and safety. I understand. Look, you were a defensive tackle. You know what this is like for you guys. Screw you guys. I don't really care. You know, if you got a chance to get your meat hooks on me, you'd want to throw me to the ground and try to rip my head off. So this is our chance to finally get back at you guys. So that's the way I look at it. I want to ask you one question.
Sure.
What is Frank Reich thinking about?
Okay, wait now.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, my dear friend, my college roommate.
Listen, you love him. I know this. Listen.
Oh, yes.
I asked him some of the toughest questions. I said this, I go, did the Eagles contact you on being the offensive coordinator to the team when Musmeyer went down, when Kellen Moore got the head coaching job in New Orleans? He goes, yes. I said, okay. I told him right out of the gate, I don't want to do it. I said, all right. I said, did they contact you to be a consultant? He said, after Petula got the job, I wanted it to settle down. We were working on a role for me to come back to Philly. They were working on a role for him. He said, then Andrew Luck parachuted in. I said, Frank, I need a favor. Now, I didn't know they had built this relationship up when he was in, because I guess the owner kept hounding Andrew on coming back, and Frank never hounded him. He just kept his professionalism. And he said this, they built this great relationship up. And Andrew said this, hey, I need you for 1 year. And he said that everyone else will do all the legwork. I don't have to do NIL. He doesn't have to do any recruiting. They're all going to do it. And Frank's running it like an NFL team. And he said, I believe he'll be with the Eagles next year.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing, man?
Well, because, you know, I had a conversation with Frank before he took the job. So he called me on his way back from Stanford and said that Andrew Luck called in. As you said, Andrew Luck parachuted in.
Yeah.
You know, I've reminded Frank that Andrew Luck parachuted out in Indianapolis. Oh, he did. You remember that?
He did.
And I love Andrew, and he did it because he was injured and everything else. So that's a whole different thing. But they did have a special relationship. He loves Andrew, and I can understand why, because they're on the same mental wavelength. But here's my question to Frank. I said, you know, if you asked him this question, I would love to know the answer to it, because he still hasn't called me back to tell me the answer to this. I said, you're getting essentially, I don't know, what, maybe $20 million over the next 2 years from the Carolina Panthers?
I think he's got 2 more. I think he's got 2 more years. And I go, why are you doing this?
Right.
And I mean, why are you not in the beaches in Carolina somewhere?
Yeah, but here's the real question that I have, and I still haven't gotten an answer to this. And I even asked my own tax guy this. I said, you're going out to Palo Alto. Where is that? Oh, that's in the state of California. Who has the worst state taxes in America for anybody making over, like, say, $2 million? Which Frank Reich is going to be making over the next 2 years, because that's what he is owed. Now, there's offset language in the coach's contract in the NFL. I want to know, has Frank's money
Yeah.
Is it open to California state tax?
David Tepper's money, the $2 million he's making this year, comes off that $8 million. That for one, he's owed like 2 more years.
Yeah, I know that.
So this year he's got 6. He's got 6 instead of 8. And I went, Frank, wait a minute, dog. For every dollar you make in California, 60 cents of it goes to the federal government and the state government. And then you got to take the standard of living. When you're looking at California, you're bringing 10 cents home. I go, how does that make sense?
You love football. That's what that means, I guess. I know Palo Alto is a beautiful area. I've been there. My friend Walt Harris was the head coach there for a while. Went out to visit him right when their stadium was being built. And it was an amazing place. I can understand how you can get caught up in that, especially with Andrew Luck. And then he told me he had lunch with Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I guess you're going there because you love football.
I'm going to tell you what they also did now. Because Palo Alto has like really a lot of land.
Yeah.
I heard he's living in a rent-free home out there also on campus.
Well, right now he's living in my brain rent-free because I still can't figure this out financially.
Wait a minute. You're not leaving your driveway for anything less than 20 grand. You told me that.
Well, it's more than that now. Inflation, even though inflation's going down, my inflation's gone up.
Hey, Boom, how long are you going to do it, man? I know that it's still the #1 rated show in New York. I mean, how long? I mean, you were made for this. You were made for 2 things, quarterbacking and this. I mean, how much longer are you just going to go until you go like this, until somebody like we used to do, until somebody throws me out of the league, I'm still playing.
Well, I left the league early. I probably could have played another 2 years, but I had another opportunity. And plus, I had young kids and I wanted to see them grow up. So I didn't want to be away from them when they were living in New York and I was in Cincinnati my last year. So, it was a reason to retire. But now I would say I got another 3.5 years on my contract. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Good. By the way, that CBS show sucks. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah, Dan, I got to tell you something. While I miss it, I do miss it. And I love working there. Getting away from there and having weekends in the fall for the first time in 35 years. I mean, it was like life-changing for me. And I would never even think about, my agent calls up and says, you want to do this? I'm like, no, I don't. I want to enjoy my life in the off season and during the season, during the weekends, because I was working 6.5 days essentially a week for almost 23 years.
Man, that's really...
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
It's like Frank Reich going to Stanford. Crazy.
Crazy. I told him, I said, I'm going to tell you something. I want you to get one day, and I'm not hoping for anybody to get canned. I'm not doing this. I go, I'd love to see you as the head coach of Maryland. I mean, I thought you were going to get that job the first time around, and I hope he gets that up. Maybe that's what this leads to. Maybe
they screwed him over. I was right in the middle of all that. I thought we had a deal, and then all of a sudden, it's not Mike Loxley who got the job. It was the guy before Mike who, the defense coordinator from Michigan. I forget his name.
Okay.
But he got it over Frank, and that Maryland went dark on us for a week. And I remember Frank was the OC down in San Diego.
Right.
And he had to leave a game after they played the Jaguars. He had to tell the Spanos family, hey, I got to go up and meet Maryland. I think I'm going to get the job there that next season. And I thought he had the job. His agent thought he had the job. Frank thought he had the job. All of a sudden, Maryland goes black on us for a week. And then they announced the defense.
I was on in San Diego on 1090, and he was coming on my show once a week. You want to hear this too? Boom. Nick Sirianni was the wide receiver quarterback coach on that team too. And those guys were all parading in front of me. And Frank calls me and he goes like this. He goes, I think I got the Maryland job. I'm like, he goes, Boomer's just all over this thing here, man. I mean, he's just absolutely going nuts here. And I go, dude, you're going to get the Maryland job. This is absolutely awesome, man. And so he calls me back and he goes, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
The whole thing just melted.
Yeah. To this day, we don't know what happened. It's now we're, 2 athletic directors removed now. I don't even know if we have an athletic director at the moment because we went through this whole fiasco with our basketball program at the University of Maryland. Finally, hopefully got that whole thing settled. I like Mike Loxley. Nobody wanted the job after I forget his name. I can't believe I can't remember his name. He got fired because
Martindale, was it?
No. It was Jim Harbaugh's defensive coordinator.
Oh, the guy who's there now?
No. Mike Loxley is there now.
Okay. No. The guy that's now in the Chargers. The guy was up at Michigan with him.
No, I forget who it is. Anyway, if you remember, an offensive lineman passed away at practice.
That's right.
And it was one of those practices with the strength coach. And
Yep.
And the coach was basically absolved. He was absolved from anything, but he felt like he had to leave because that's what Maryland does. You got to leave. And then they hired Mike Loxley from Alabama because, Mike had been on Freege's staff.
That's right.
So Mike knew the area. He's very well known in that area. He's done a great job recruiting, but in the Big Ten, it's going to be really hard to win more than 8 games.
Hey, Boomer, you and Frank in the elevator with baby powder on you. I'm not going to tell the story, so I'll just leave it.
It was called hazing back in the day there, Dano. It wasn't pretty.
Okay. Hey, right? Look, Kronberg, you, Koch, me, and Frank sometimes wedged in the middle, driving up and back from New York to Connecticut, down to Maryland and down to College Park. Those were psychotic. If I go, Boomer is in the car with you? I go, yeah, Boomer graced he graced his presence with us. He was in the car.
Yeah, I was a mutant like the rest of you guys. We were all afterthoughts, Dan. We were all afterthoughts at Maryland. We did not have any 5 stars.
Oh, no. But we won.
Well, you know what? We had one 5-star, and his name was Chuck Fawcett.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because he played for the Blue Jays, and then they bring his butt in, and he played linebacker for us. But, yeah, get this. We may not have been 5 stars, but I'll tell you what we did do. We did win.
Yeah, we did. We did. Bobby Ross taught us well. And so
absolutely. Hey, Boom. Thank you so much for all this time, man. I really appreciate it. Keep kicking ass. My friendship with you goes over 45 years now. Can you believe that?
It's amazing. We're getting old, Dano.
You got it, man. Thank you, Boom.
See you, man. See you guys.
You got it. That is Boomer Esiason, our good friend. Yes, sir, baby. Oh, yes, sir. Hey, by the Randy Etzel, that's it, the UConn guy. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you very much. That's right. It was the UConn dude. He was a stiff. Hey, was there any supers that I missed during this time? Help me out here. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Any super, Xander, that I may have missed? Let's see. I bet you won't ask Boomer if quarterbacks need strong players around them to win. I'll wait. Boomer. Prince wants to know. If quarterbacks need strong players around them to win, please respond. Send. I'll get it back to you, Princess. How you doing, baby? Hey, Prince, I'm doing an interview with Boomer Esiason. I bet you won't ask him. Hey, I'm sorry if I'm a little distracted in talking to my friend. And bringing you Boomer Esiason. See, Prince thinks this shit's about him. Come on, Prince. Sit back and relax, kids. Smoke a joint. Eat a mushroom. Enjoy the greatness of Sills. Because you never get it again anywhere else like this. Sills, what's if Maryland's banning people from jobs associated with you? It's a funny place, man. I'll tell you flat out, Kyle. True story. My aunt hates it when I tell the story. That's why Boomer, if you could tell, was sarcastic when he said it. Okay? I would never have left Maryland for Miami. Ever. And by the way, he threw that 5-star thing at me because he knows that pissed me off always. I told you guys, not being a 5-star pissed me off. Okay? I think I was either a 3 or a 4. I may have been a 3. And that pissed me off. There wasn't anybody better than me in New England. Anyway, so I'll tell the story, man, one more time. Some of you might not know it. Prince is a bum. Prince is a bum. So I got in a lot of fights. I still hold the record at Maryland for bench press for a freshman. 415, something like that. I still hold the record there. Enjoy the greatness, you bum. Hold on here. Because you have to always have like receipts around this bitch. Sileo, Maryland. Yeah, I would never have left, man. I really liked it there. Plus, it was close to my pop. And I didn't want to go. I really didn't. But I had to because, at the end of the day, I threw a guy out of a window. And it was, the coach said you could have killed him. And he's right. I could have. Hold on here. Let's see if I got that in there. Let's see here. Let's see. Look at Prince, man. This guy's like a chick. Sideline Sills. I looked up your Madden rating and found that this player hasn't been unlocked yet. Hey, can you believe it? That this player who made it to the National Football League, this guy is a stiff in the National Football League. Thank you, Princess. Yeah, sure. All right. Better have been than never been, brother. Always remember that, Junior. Sit back, Princess. How you doing? Look at this guy here, man. Still moaning about his fact that Rice wasn't with Montana. Keep crying. You and Twiz could sit around there and have that big circle jerk. And I know you guys celebrate at night. Sideline Sills. Listen to Boom all the time. Come on, man. He likes Jalen. I could see that. I saw Dart beat the Georgia defense. He has to sit, but models himself after Jalen. I know. I don't know if I really dig Jackson Dart. I don't think he's a first-round draft choice. I don't. Let's see here. Sills, we need to start the show. Dip shots. Oh, here. Look at Prince. This guy will go. What a day you're having, Prince. Big Sills is recognizing you all day. It's like the Pope. The Pope of sports talk. Yes. Hold on. Let me do it here. Here. Prince. You have been knighted by Big Sills today. You have been knighted today. There you go. There you go, kid. There you go. And Prince, you are now a star. He's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. And Prince will get his little love fest going. Oh, no, the flashlight. Don't worry, Sue. I could spot a chick like you a mile away. All right. We now move in to one of my favorite topics. Nick Sirianni. I want to show you freaks something here. Okay? Hey, you know what? Talk like an adult. That's all. When you guys use this, your internet lingo, talk like an adult. Shut up, Sills. I'd rather have that. Pause. Cucumber. You guys are really weird. I may be old, but cucumber. What is it? Eggplant. Dude, you're like weird. Please stop. I mean, it's really unbecoming. Holy cow. Pause. For what? Yeah. Let's see here. I got to get this up. Hey, Sue, sorry, but I got to say this on the air. I got to get this up. Hold on. Let's see here. Here we go here. All right. And we're going to get into Nick Sirianni here. So let's go down here. Here we go. All right. So it is May 13th. It is May 13th. And we have no Nick Sirianni deal. So here's where I'm going to go. So let's do this. How many years has Nick Sirianni been the head coach of the Eagles? How many years? What was it? 2021 to present. 2024, right? 25 season obviously hasn't played. So what is this thing? 4 years now? He's going into his fifth year. Is that right, Bob? Going into his fifth, 4 completed NFL seasons, right? Okay. So let me do this. Let's see. 14-2. Super Bowl win. 3-0. Super Bowl win. Okay. Let's go here. 14-2 again. Beat by the Giants. So he's 28-4-0 and 4-1 in the postseason. That's right. Quarterback got hurt that year. I remember that. 10-6. So he's 38-10. Comes back 14-2. Beating the NFC title game. All right. So 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow. It's 2. So this man is 52-12. Listen to me here. This man is 52-12. And he's 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5. He's 5-2 in the postseason. So that's 57-14 in 4 years with a Super Bowl win. Let's check out our boy Nick Sirianni here. Nick Sirianni. Here we go. Here's old Nicky. Take a look here. Here's old Nicky. Look at that. It's kind of hard for me to talk shit on a Paisan, too, which is kind of difficult. This will be quicker here. All right. So Nick is 9, 14, 11, 14. He's 48-20. And he's 6-3 in the postseason. He's got a Super Bowl. So, Kyle, do me a favor real quick. 52-12 out of 64 football games. What's that win percentage? Nick Sirianni has a 706 win percentage, 48-20. What is 6 out of 52-12? What is 52-12 on a win percentage? Kyle, hook me up here, Kyle. 52-12. What's the win percentage? It's got to be better than 706, right? Let's see something else here for a second about this one coach that I'll name. Let's see here. So get this. So George Seifert has an 8-10 win percentage, a Super Bowl win. And if you want to go even more extended, in 10 years as a head coach, 9 years, excuse me, as a head coach in San Francisco, 8 years in San Francisco, he was 98-30. And if you put his postseason, he was 103-35. And they fired him. That's Nick Sirianni. It's a product of an environment. He's not even doing the things that Seifert did. Seifert won 2 Super Bowls too. He's not even remotely in the room. But George Seifert was a product of the 49ers system that Bill Walsh, Carmen Policy, and John McVay and Ed DeBartolo had built. It's the same parallel. He parachuted in to a great environment. What's the difference? And when he had to go somewhere else, Seifert was 8-8, 7-9, and 1-15 with the Panthers. George Seifert's a winner too. He's actually won more. Why'd he get fired? Because nobody really thought he was the guy. Guy with an 8-10 win percentage. What was his overall win percentage when he left? He had a 766 win percentage in 8 years of coaching, 10-5 in the postseason, and he won 2 Super Bowls, and he'll never, ever sniff the Hall of Fame. His name's never brought up. What's the difference? Great players. What's the difference? What's the difference? I just did it. He had a higher win percentage. It was 8-10 in a Super Bowl. I just did his first 4. Way to be in tune here. Over here, guy. What's the difference? His first 4 years, he had 3 years of 14-win teams. He just happened to be going against the Cowboy dynasty. And he still won 2 Super Bowls. What's the difference? That's why when I see Nick Sirianni, I see George Seifert. Guy who parachuted into a good situation, in a good environment, and they would win, whether it's Seifert or Walsh. That's the comparison. The guy won more. They still blew him out. Or I forget, I was doing sports talk then. I think they didn't redo his deal. They wanted to move on. Get this, they moved on from him with a 12-4 year, because they got beat by the Packers in the divisional round. That's how I remember that. This guy's 10-5 in the postseason. He's 98-30. Overall, this guy's won over 100 ball games in 8 years, and they fired him because the organization looked at him and went, yeah, I don't think so. See, the only difference, and it's slight, is that Seifert took over a team that was already winning championships regularly. 49ers pre-Seifert were better than the Eagles pre-Nick. That's fair. That's fair. So then, where was Howie in the mix between 18 and 21? What happened to Howie then? Did Howie have a brain fart or something? What happened? Bob, tell me what happened to Howie, because, Howie went from the 17-18 team that won the Super Bowl in 18 that year. Then they went through this downtime, like I think you're going to now, and then you go back up and win. Because you're saying because of Nick? I don't think so. I don't think so. However, and again, you got to remember something. This is pre-salary cap. So they're able to keep players. So that may have played into Howie. Because, again, you got to deal with cap. You got to deal with the cap. From 4-11 to the playoffs with second-year quarterback and wide receiver. So are you really telling me you believe that the Eagles would not be where they are if Nick Sirianni was not your coach? That is so obnoxiously stupid. Says Howie hadn't found his coach that could run the Howie plan. What? They won a Super Bowl with Doug. Every coach that they have hired, that Jeffrey's hired, has not had a losing record since 2000. Not one. They've all brought something to the franchise, too. Even Chip Kelly. Hey, let me ask you this. How important was it that Chip Kelly brought Lane Johnson and Jeff Stoutland to the organization? How important do you think that was? How important? How important was that, you think? How important was it bringing Lane? Okay? I'll use Ike. How important was it for Chip the Bum to bring in Jeff Stoutland? How important was it? And to draft Lane Johnson. How important? Here's another absolute ridiculous take. Under this guy's premise, he would tell you that Sirianni's a better coach than Dick Vermeil because he's got a better record. My point is, Seifert has a better record. That don't make him a better coach. Sirianni's record right now, you could put another dude in there. They'd win. Let me ask you this. If you change head coaches and you put Kellen Moore as the head football coach of the Eagles, you think you win the Super Bowl maybe again this year? Or wait a minute. What if they had moved off of Kellen Moore or Nick Sirianni this past offseason and they named Kellen Moore the OC and head coach? You think you would have still won the Super Bowl or not? Yes or no? And you hire Vic. Kellen calls the plays. Doug's still in place. Petula's still in place. And it's Kevin, and it's Kellen, and it's those dudes. Do you think they would have won the Super Bowl? Yes or no? Get this. He's saying that Nick Sirianni is the reason that they won the fucking Super Bowl last year because he was the most important coach in the building. That's a ridiculous take. What happened in 23 when you didn't have Kellen or Barkley? What happened with the implosion? What happened with the implosion? There was no leadership. Players weren't playing for anybody. They were just talking. Yeah, you know, we love playing for him. Well, it didn't look it. And by the way, every coach screws up. Every good coach screws up. No matter who you are, you're going to have a year where you go, shit. Not the right coordinators, not the right approach. Like I said, sometimes you get the eggs, sometimes you get the shells. 23, that was the shells. Now, look, I'll say this, and I'll give him credit for this. Do I think he's evolving? I do. Is he getting better? I think so. The time for a coach, dude, like I said, the record is not indicative of your impact on an organization. And you see, when you got a guy like Prince or whomever, just because you have a better record doesn't mean you're a better coach. Environment matters. Building matters. Look at Vermeil. Vermeil had to build the Eagle franchise up from being a shithole it was before he rolled in there. He had to build up the Rams shithole before they won the Super Bowl in St. Louis. He's barely got a 500 record. But Vermeil's a great coach. There's coaches with amazing resumes, like George Seifert, who will never sniff the Hall of Fame because nobody recognizes them as a team builder, or a guy who was in charge of personnel or play calling. When I look at Bill Walsh, do I see Nick Sirianni? Absolutely not remotely close. The inventor of the West Coast offense? I see none of that. Well, players play for him. Fucking stupid. Players play for their brand and their wallets. It's pro sports. Do you go to work every day for the betterment of the person that works next to you in your stall? What do you think you're dealing with, children? These are men who get paid to play pro sports. Whether you're not on the same page, I can't be concerned with you if you're not on the same page as me. It's professional sports. It's not and everything behind the scenes, but in the draft room clips, it seems like Nick has zero say on who's. He has, of course. Look, I'm going to tell you, Devin, what Clint Hurt told me. This is exactly how they pick players in Philadelphia. And some of you won't listen. I asked the coach, a position coach, and Tracy Rocker told me a year earlier, this is how they pick them. You would have to be under the impression that these position coaches like a Clint Hurt or coordinators like Vic Fangio watch film on college kids. That is remotely not true. They watch none of that. They have no idea the names of these kids. There's a process which has started already for the 26th draft. You'll get a name of about 200 kids. Okay? 200 kids. Then you'll pare it down to about 100. Then you'll pare it down and you'll pair it back up after the combines to about 150 kids. Then you take those 150 and you get around 35 guys. Then you go to your position dudes and you'll give them clips of players. Those coaches will suggest more game film. This is the offseason after the playoffs. And they'll watch a kid and they'll go, this kid does this great, this kid does this. Then the GM floats in. We're thinking of not signing this player. You knew for a fact that when Gardner Johnson wasn't coming back, that was going to be a draft priority. Vic went, I'll get the guy in the draft. Save your $11.2 million. I'll take a look for a kid. And Vic goes, I really like this guy from Texas. He'll take a look at him. And because where you were picking, those guys will put all of that in there. Okay? And they'll go like this. I like these 5 guys. The head coach takes every position coach he has working for him. Gives Howie and his scouts, here's some of the players. They come back because we're picking 31st, free agent movement, also contracts that may expire, contracts that are future. What do you make of these players? I like this. Then what they do, they'll start doing more due diligence, watching more film on these guys. Then it goes through Big Dom. Then they get you don't get invited to Philly without first clearing Big Dom, head of security. You have to go through NFL security before you get in those buildings. So you go through security, then you got about 30 guys. And this is all done in about 4 months. Then they pare it down and they do a report on them. Then the head coach goes and says to Howie, they'll sit in a room and they'll go pre-draft. Vic loves this kid. He also likes this guy late. He says he's kind of short. Here's what you like here by this guy here. Hey, I think we're probably going to address offensive line later. This will be Howie's approach. Who are you looking at with guys who may have an upside and may have, as Dander would say, a dart you could throw where you want to land on a guy who you like, pedigree, all this other stuff. Okay? Then, hey, Prince, I love this guy. This guy's just talking shit on me all day. Bro, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Bro, you're a weirdo. Honestly. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're a weird dude. You sit in here for about an hour and a half, jerking yourself off here, and I don't know what you're doing. Honestly. It's kind of crazy. Hey, I'm glad that this room is the only room where people can see you. I know most of the time you spend time in a room where no one's watching. I don't know what you're doing in there. So, hey, I'm really glad. And look, congratulations. Hey, man, I'm glad you're happy. Man, are you a weirdo? This guy wears chicks' underwear. I mean, this guy makes anybody feel uncomfortable. That hit home? Bro, I don't give a shit. I really don't. Anyway, still, like Bob was saying, that's what they do. Sills, it's a fair take on Nick. Doug rocked the boat, and that's a no-no. Maybe that's Nick's biggest skill. That's what John McMullen says. His biggest asset is he knows how to play the political rule. He can, hey, Sue, I'm really glad that you guys can have a conversation with me. I really am. It's pretty good. Very few people can. You should take pride in that. Because I really don't recognize a lot of folks. Thank you. Oh, no, excuse me. You're welcome. Because I'm not that guy. Sills is upset, you would have to think that I respect some people enough to be upset. I don't get upset. That's a you thing. That means you would have to really be my friend for me to be upset. How would I be upset with people I've never met? I never got that. I do. I don't know. Hey, Sue, you want to hear something, Sue? Sue, you don't want to hear something crazy great? So you're here every day, and so am I, and I don't know why. Okay. Hey, Sue, you're right. Hey, wait a minute. I got to do something here for Prince. Prince, I'm sorry. Prince, hold on. Prince, I hope you accept my apologies. I'm really sorry. I don't want anybody to be upset. I kind of do. I don't know why. You know why? I know. Hey, Prince, would this be fair? I think I like you because you're an asshole. And I'm an asshole. Is that it? All right. I don't know, man. What the hell am I doing? This has gone completely off the rails. I feel like I'm having an argument with John McMullen. I didn't realize that Xander Krause was a big Ryan Poles fan. Holy cow. I really didn't realize that he really admires the Chicago GM. I didn't know that. It's all good, Prince. You know we're boys, dog. If you couldn't take it, I wouldn't give it, nor would I care. We're good. It's Troll Tuesday. Taco Tuesdays, it's Troll Tuesdays. I like that idea. Maybe we should have that day. Troll Tuesday. Want me to troll? I'll troll. Hurts blows. All right. Without further ado, where's my... Oh, here it is. Every guy I get on here loves Hurts. I hate that. I mean, even Boomer likes the kid. Jesus criminy. Without further ado, the co-host, Bert365, my friend, Xander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Boomer was good, right?
Boomer was great, man. Boomer was really good. I love listening to you guys go back and forth. But, yeah, he was great. A lot of praise for Jalen Hurts.
Who? Oh, yes. There was a lot of praise. By the way, before we started off, 1 year anniversary today of Saquon Barkley signing with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Huge. Maybe the biggest free agent signing. I don't want to say ever. I don't know if you could say ever, but up
Bigger
there.
than AJ?
Well, AJ was a trade.
Okay, biggest acquisition.
I mean, I don't know. How do you gauge it? Because they won a Super Bowl with Saquon. They only got 2 of those things. So it's up there. It's got to be up there. Top 5, right? Got to be top 5. Top 3, maybe.
Who's the most important person on the team, AJ or Barkley?
Last year?
I don't care. Right now.
Probably Barkley. Their running team.
Barkley. Okay. Barkley. So,
how's it feel you're losing today? The chat's got you beat today.
Nobody's beating me ever.
1-1. Yeah, it's a 1-1 week.
Never. No one's ever beating me. I'm undefeated. I am the heavyweight.
I got Prince. I got Flex. I got Quiz.
Heavyweight champion of the world. Because you bark shit doesn't mean
Prince,
you're right.
Quiz, Flex, and Sue are up 1.
No, 1. They're the worst takes.
It's a 1-1 week, gentlemen. How will we finish?
What did they win? What? My
my
admiration? My admiration? Jesus. Try to have a take that's good.
Dude, they're occupying headspace up there, man.
Oh, that's what they're doing. You can't get to me, kid. What are you trying here? Big Sills don't roll down that lane.
They can get to you.
Nobody
you love these people. You say you don't, but you do love these people. And then you pull out I don't know you. I don't care about you. Oh, bullshit. Oh, bullshit. I'm not
Okay, so
buying
maybe
it.
that was bullshit. Okay, maybe that was bullshit.
Yeah. So I'm giving Prince the leader in the clubhouse for the win.
He's not
today.
the leader in
I mean,
shit.
you couldn't wait to say he had a super chat when Boomer got off. You saw that sucker. You were thinking about it for the last 20 minutes of the interview, and then you brought it up right at the end of it.
Never. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Prince, you are not Switty for the week, okay? You've earned a couple days of Prince Swayze again.
I don't even know who he is. Whatever. So here, that just fuels big. Hold on here. That signal's out. All right. So
I got my bad signal. You want me to pull it out?
let me ask you something here, Junior. Since February 10th, day after the Super Bowl, what has Howie done in 2025? I say he's taken 2025 off. What's he done?
Well, Goddard coming back is the first,
Okay.
I would say, real 2025 move. But you know,
like
building when you're a GM, you have a different job than a coach in terms of you have to build for the now, but you cannot completely turn a blind eye to the future because the Eagles have been down that road before and it bit them in the ass. So while it's a balancing act, and you could maybe argue he went to one way or the other way, but it is a balancing act of how do we put the best team on the field today, and how do we create a team and a roster and an organization that's built to win for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think they've done a pretty good job at that. Now, obviously, there are more things in the other column this year because you lost so many of the guys on defense, and all the moves that you made outside of signing Zach Bond and bringing Goddard back are for the future, right? Your draft picks are for the future. You know, the replacements that you brought in for the defense this year are largely cheap free agents that are tryouts. Basically, they're basically dart throws. So I think Howie's done a decent job, but I'm definitely not as far as I'm definitely not in the camp of he's letting 25 go. I just think we've created a little bit of a tough scenario with how well we've drafted, that player contracts are an issue right now. And there's a lot more issues coming in the future. This isn't the last year of this. I mean, what are we going to do with Quignon and Cooper when they're up at the same time? All those things are still coming.
But here, I would say this. Don't you feel that there's a better chance that you win in the Super Bowl in 26 and 25? I do.
Yeah, but to be fair, we did say that exact phrase last year. Remember, the defense was built for 25 2 years ago.
Did you really lose that many players a year ago?
Well, no, but we did talk about Quignon and Cooper were going to take a year. Nolan Smith still hadn't showed anything. We took Jalen Carter was still we talked about a delay before the defense was ready. So now a lot went our way. I'm not saying it did. It did go our way.
You're playing a lot into repeating a lot of what success happened a year ago into this year by giving blind faith. And you think because I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying because they proved it a year ago, you're basically giving the front office, the coaching staff, and the roster itself, you're giving it blind faith that and a lot of things. Well, it is blind faith. You don't know. I don't know.
Blind faith on 4 spots out of 11.
It's not 4 spots.
Well, it is.
How is there's roster spots everywhere open? Your backup LB, your swing.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Corner,
your backup LBs are important.
Corner, your one starting safety. You're unsure at linebacker. Are you really going to go into camp with those 4 edge rushers or 5 edge rushers? I don't know that yet.
I'm not buying those.
Guard is unsettled. I mean, there's a ton of job openings.
Yeah, I'm not buying some of those problems as big as you are.
Okay, again, that's blind faith.
It's not blind faith.
Bro, are people going to fight for the corner job? Yes.
Yeah, let me ask you something.
Well, no, let me finish. Are people going to fight for the corner job? Is there going to be a battle for the corner spot?
Yes.
Is there going to be a battle at safety?
Yes.
Are you solidified right now on May 13th, right now, on what you're going to do on the off backer next to Bond?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's going to take Burks' role to be that guy?
Okay, that's one I'm not worried about, though.
Okay. Bro.
I mean, I'm not going to – Sills, your team isn't built with backups. I understand they're important piece, but
who has that role of Isaiah Rodgers?
But do you seriously think the role of Isaiah Rodgers is going to dictate whether we're a Super Bowl
I
contending team or
think
not?
I think that all played into it. I do. I don't think because you're microing it. I'm looking at the whole group on what you accomplished last year as a unit.
Yeah, but those guys don't make up a big percentage of the
You're
pie.
cookie cuttering it. You're slicing.
No. Even if you look at it from a macro, I don't think that the backup players that are always going to be interchangeable in every team, because that's the nature of the NFL. There's going to be turnover. Those aren't the guys that you build your teams around.
Blind faith, you're going to replace those guys.
Sills, blind faith.
How is that not blind faith?
Because again, I said 4 positions out of 11, maybe. I don't have blind faith on Jalen Carter. I don't have blind faith on Quinion or Cooper or Reed or Vaughn.
I'm not going to the certainties. I have not mentioned the certainties. I'm going to the ones that you have question marks on. You've got question marks on half the secondary. You've got question marks still. Again, the edge is the least of my concerns.
Yeah, but why are you putting so much stock on backup players?
Because backup players played a role in your Super Bowl win.
They do every year. But they're not the trust. They're not the trust of whether your team can get better or worse.
But every team doesn't win the Super Bowl.
That's like saying our offense would get worse because we don't have Kenny Gainwell coming back.
My God almighty. Who's taking Isaiah Rodgers' role? Seriously.
My point isn't that we have a sure thing to take Isaiah's role. My point is that player, that position is inconsequential to the big picture of the defense.
So you think when Slay went out and Isaiah going in and him getting an $8 million deal in Minnesota, NFL teams looked at that and said, he's a nothing player.
That's not what I said. He was a backup. Was he a backup in Philly or not?
Yes, it is, because that guy just got a contract to start in Minnesota.
So
yes, it is.
Your defense is built on the core players that you identify. Every one of those players is coming back. You could point and say, you have blind faith at the edge. I agree. You have blind faith at corner. I agree. And you have blind faith at safety. I agree. I don't agree at defensive tackle because I've seen it from Moro Ujoma.
You have 2 core players right now with certainty. Maybe not even
7 starters.
Bro, unbelievable. Half your secondary's gone, and half that linebacking core's got question marks.
Sills, you got a corner and a safety, and you're acting like the entire defense.
You're out of your mind. Okay, well, I completely disagree with you.
All right, well, you asked me for my take. I tried to give you my take, and you won't let me get it out.
Let me ask you this one then. All right. Here, let's go here. I gave you a comp of a guy who had an 8-10 win percentage. His name is George Seifert, and he won a Super Bowl. He was 52-12.
Yeah, that's insane.
First 4 years. You want to hear something else? He was in 8 years. He was 98-30. And if you put his 2 Super Bowls and his 10-5 record, George Seifert won 108 games and lost 35 games. And they fired him. Look at that record. Not even Nick Sirianni has that record. And they looked at him as a guy who benefited from being in an organization that was set up by Bill Walsh, by Carmen Policy, and by the owner. They thought he was interchangeable. As a matter of fact, here's what I'll give George credit on. The 49ers have never been successful until this recent run here with Kyle.
True.
Okay?
It's true.
If you think about it, after they fired him, they went through the Mariucci's of the world. They went through all these other guys, and they bombed. So
and they still haven't gotten over the hump since. When's the last time they won the Super Bowl?
George Seifert's the last coach to win a Super Bowl for the Niners.
And what year did he win? Do you remember? I know he was a little obviously.
I got it up here.
He's got what? 2 of them, right? Two rings?
2. He won one in 89 and he won one in 94.
There you go. I mean, that's Dallas Cowboys level long.
Oh, completely.
Yeah. So it's a good point by you, but I don't view Sirianni like Seifert, but I could see I see the comp that you're making much easier in that Nick Sirianni isn't the guy who runs the entire show like many of the greatest coaches. When you look up the 10 greatest NFL coaches of all time, many of those guys ran the show. Sirianni certainly doesn't fall in that category. I wouldn't go as far as to say Seifert. Now, I'm a younger fan. I don't know how Seifert is perceived. I mean, you read those numbers to me, and I'm like, how is this guy not looked at as a good coach? 52-10 or 52-12.
Hey, that's a great take by you, and I'll tell you what because if you just look at 52-12 and you go, Jesus criminy, I don't really know anything about the guy. Well, a lot of people don't know anything about us. How many times do you watch an analyst talk about the Eagles when they're talking about the great Brian Johnson? You're like, that guy sucks as an OC. What are you talking about? And you're sitting there going, that guy's nuts. So kind of more so than anything, I think there's really, I look at him and I compare him to George Seifert. That, again, you know what he is? He's a guy that did exactly what the Bartolo in policy wanted to have happen. He won a ton of games. He's won more games than Nick. He's won more Super Bowls to the point. Now, obviously, first 4 years.
I get where you're going with this. I mean, I don't hate the comp. I mean, look, George Seifert's got 2 rings. If that means Sirianni's going to get another ring, I'll take it, man.
And he'll never go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I guess Seifert's not in the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, who's the other coaches that have won 2 that aren't in the Hall of Fame? Tom Coughlin? Is that it?
That's
I can think of Tom Coughlin, right? Tom Coughlin's got 2.
Tom Coughlin will be in.
You think he'll get in?
I think he is in.
I don't know. Is he in, Tom Coughlin?
I believe Tom Coughlin got in. Maybe I'm wrong.
What about Mike Shanahan? Is he in?
Mike Shanahan? Nope, he's not in yet.
So Seifert's one of those guys. I mean, look, I don't hate the comp that much because it's not unfair to say that Nick doesn't run the show like other coaches do. But where I'll push back is, you know, you bring up the point of how the Niners have never won. I don't think you can take a player or coach or anything and take them out and just say, you're going to have the same level of success with a new at whatever position, at quarterback, at head coach. It's going to be different, right? I mean,
any job,
right? Most jobs, which kind of goes back to the argument we just had, a second ago. But it's hard for me to say Nick Sirianni does nothing. Now, I told you pre-show I had another comp for Sirianni. Okay. It's not a historic comp. It's not like this where you compare him to somebody that's won a lot of games. You always ask, though, what does Nick do? And I look at the comp and I say, he's a super Dan Campbell. He's Dan Campbell with all the success. Dan Campbell's got a great wide receiver, great offensive line, great multiple wide receivers, great running backs, good quarterback in Jared Goff. He had a great defense now, he had the Detroit Lions. That's not the Eagles, obviously. Sirianni got a better organization, a better shake at that. But Sirianni is kind of like what does can't you say the same thing, right, about Campbell? Like, what do you do, right? Like, you don't call the play. Are you just the culture guy? Brad Holmes is obviously managing the whole roster. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I look at Sirianni and I'm like, hey,
I probably give Dan blind faith more because he's a former player. So I'm prejudiced.
Yeah.
So I'm prejudiced. So I'm prejudiced towards Dan more than I am Nick because you know why? He speaks my language more.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? He kind of, I understand where he's coming from. So that's a bias.
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean,
I would say Nick's better right now than Dan.
Yeah, and I prefer Campbell from a style perspective, but you can't argue with what Nick's been able to do. And look, I think this is a similar conversation to Jalen Hurts, where people are like, Jalen's not that talented. The team is incredible, and that's why they win. Yet I look at all the players that everybody says is so much more talented than Jalen, and none of them have won. So I'm like, I mean, what the fuck is the difference? I mean, you had this argument earlier. You're like, find me a quarterback outside of, Brady and Montana. I'm like, well, what is Josh Allen? What about Joe Burrow? What about Lamar Jackson? What about all these other players? Dak Prescott. What about all these other players that don't have rings right now that are great talents? Now it's a different convo with the coach, but I do think it's at least applicable. Like, I don't think you could just replace Nick and say, oh, the team is so good, we're going to get the same result. I don't think it works that easy. I think there's a human element that matters. And, maybe the George Seifert comp is good because they haven't won shit since he left.
No, and you know what? And I kind of like shit on my own comparison here a little bit because you're right. Because if I'm thinking about it, you know what the one thing George did do? He did everything that Bill Walsh did. And when they tried to go in a different direction with other coaches, they have not been able to get back to that game since Kyle. and they still haven't gotten over the hump. Maybe if Nick was to be replaced, maybe there'd be another guy that would try to change culture. That's the one thing. Do you think his greatest strength is that he refuses to change the culture that has been set? And that's the one thing Seifert refused to do, was change the culture that Walsh had set. And when you start hiring other people, they want their own imprint on something, like Doug and some of these other guys. That's where you get the bad rub. So again, there is strengths to Nick here. That's a strength.
I think Nick manages only the on-field. Like, to your point, the macro culture, which is organization, which is top down. I'm not talking about coaches and players only. I'm talking top down. Nick has no say on that. And you're right about that, right? Nick hasn't influenced that at all. Where I do think Nick influences is he set up the core tenets and the things that the team operates from coach down. I think he controls that culture, and he's done a good job at that. But yeah, it's not as big as somebody that comes in and, manages the entire organization. I agree with that. But again, I think those are going out the door a little more, Sileo. Remember, back in Seifert's day, back in, even some of the greatest coaches of all time, back in Jimmy's day, how much were teams worth back then? And I know this isn't a perfect example, but just to draw a comp, teams are worth $10 billion now.
Oh, they're corporations now. They weren't then.
Right. These aren't just sports teams anymore, man, where Bill Belichick comes in. He's like, all right, we're doing this, this, and this. And as long as we win games, the whole business works. Like, this is way different now. The organization is split from the coach and the on-field department, and Nick is put in charge of on-field. You're the head coach of the football team. That's it. I don't need you to do player evaluation from draft none of that shit. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Let me tell you what you've just done here. I had never thought about this. Owners back used to own these teams. Owning an NFL team, some of these guys had to be talked into buying them because they were so not a business. They were just like a fun toy to have. Like the Hilton guy who owned the Chargers. He didn't really want to own it, but they came in, and the guy who owned the Chiefs, Hunt, came in and said, would you buy it? So he buys the Chargers for $25,000. You understand that?
Right.
A franchise in the AFL back in the days when they started was $25,000 the fee. Now, you know what? The teams are worth $8 billion.
It's crazy.
So now you have to have a different guy in there running these businesses compared to what you had years past when these were just considered an owner's toy. Now they're the owners, the way they make money. Look at what Josh Harris is doing. Josh Harris is getting an arena built downtown Philly. He's getting one built at the RFK site in D.C. That's economic wealth that's never been seen before in the NFL. So you're right, Xander. It's a different style of guy.
Yeah, and look,
20 years ago.
Yeah, and here's a perfect example, right? Like Shady Westbrook, and Shady, I love you, brother, and I appreciate this comment because it brings up a good topic or good part of this conversation. Shady says Dallas is the only corporation that sells a shitty product and doesn't lose customers. Which, Shady, while you are correct, it does highlight what I just said about this is way more than a football operation nowadays. It's no longer
selling the shield.
Yes, it's no longer just football. And that's where I think we've gotten to this point where these companies are so big, these teams are so big that, you're going to start to see less and less coaches that manage everything because it's just too big. Back when Dallas was quantified on success, it was Jimmy Johnson, man. They were winning Super Bowls. They won 3 of them in the 90s. Now they don't win and they don't lose customers. Why? Because they got TV shows and they have Netflix and they have an awesome stadium and all the things that aren't football related. Dallas still front page news every year, every week of the year on every sports channel. I mean, it's way different the world that we live in today, but I do understand where you're coming from with Nick.
Nick. But let me tell you, man, you're right. It's big business now, dude. I mean,
it is, Jack.
Dude, you just can't have a dude in there anymore. You got to have a guy who runs and understands the levels of the business. Get this. Do you think really Jimmy Johnson gave a shit about the marketing of the team or how?
No. And he didn't have to, dude.
Nick's got to worry about the imaging of the team and how it looks. That's why the owner's so concerned about how the organization looks. All right, let me get to some of these games. So here's my takeaway. God, is this great for TV? Holy cow, the Eagles. Get this. So September 4th. Let me ask you this. Is the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, is that the biggest rivalry in sports?
Dallas Cowboys and Eagles? Nah, I don't think so.
I'll tell you what. Well, here, let me hook you up on something. Top 100 television shows in all of 2024, all the way down to 39 when they had the presidential debates. Every single show, all the way down to 12, and then the 96 Oscars was 13. Then it went Eagles, Bucks, wild card. Then it went World Series, the Grammys, Sunday Night Football, Eagles. Then the Cowboys and Steelers. Then the opening ceremonies, all sports, all NFL. That number that the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to produce on September 4th, I guarantee you'll be north of 45 to 50 million people watching that thing. Now, you tell me what a bigger rivalry in sports is than that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know the Eagles and the Cowboys are up there. You want to know something from a lot of Eagle fans will disagree with me on, but I felt this way, and it's changed in the last couple of years because the Eagles have been so good. But you know what's something that's always bothered me about the Dallas Eagles rivalry is that we in Philly cared more about it than they did. Like the Dallas Cowboys never acted like. Now it's changed because we've gotten so good and now we've gotten major success. But before that, yeah, we used to every Cowboy game used to be a freaking, Super Bowl for us in terms of how much the fans cared about it. And I never felt like that was reciprocated. So for me as a fan, I don't know, maybe it's the pride in me. I was like, if you don't fucking care about us, I don't care. I don't give a shit about you either, But maybe that's just a me thing. That might be more of a me thing than anything.
Does Philly have a complex?
What's that?
Do you think Philly fans have a complex?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're certainly a type of way. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, with New York, I think it's New York and Dallas that you have a complex with. It's not a bad thing. Hey, well, New York,
I don't think we were as successful, Sills. I mean, look at the we still
are more successful. No,
I mean, until the last 10 years, we still have the least amount of Super Bowls in the NFC East. This is why back when we won a couple of months ago, I'm like, I want more, man. I don't want to settle right here because I want to take the power in our negotiations. I want to take the power in our fandom debates and all of those things. So we still got a long way to go, but yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the Super Bowls changed it a lot for us, but we were fighting an uphill battle in terms of, you could always say, hey, Dallas, you hate us. But at the end of the day, they were like, bro, we're the big dog. Yeah, we're the big dog. Who the hell are you? You guys don't even have a Super Bowl. So it definitely changed recently, though. It's
so you think the Super Bowls have had that kind of impact now where all of a sudden maybe Dallas, if I were Dallas, I would completely give a shit. One, you're in my division. I would of all the teams in the league right now, my major focus is Philly because not only before did you just have the noxious fans, now you have the record to go behind it, and now you've added 2 Super Bowl titles. How much have those Super Bowl titles changed on how you think people see you?
Huge. Now, for the first time in my life, I actually feel like there's real animosity more so coming from Cowboys fans now. Because now it's like
that's why I say it's the biggest rivalry,
right? Which it might be. It might be getting to that point now. I think it's top 3 in the NFL. I mean, remember, you got to go Ravens Steelers, right? Is that the best rivalry in football? I mean, Ravens Steelers is just
the oldest is Bears Packers.
Bears Packers is great too. NFC North. I mean, that's awesome. But I think because of the teams, the Eagles and the Cowboys have probably overtaken that. I mean, the Bears haven't been good in how long?
Ever.
I mean, it's so
since the 80s, or since they won that Super Bowl.
A couple others. I mean, I don't know. Maybe from an NFL standpoint, and because it's the biggest sport, that would make it the biggest. I see what you're going. I see where you're going.
How about this in basketball? What do you think? There's any rivalry that makes you go to the television set? Is it Knicks and Celtics? Because I've been watching that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really. I mean, it would be. I think if you're going, I mean, what are we going off of? The past decade, past
no. I'm just right now. How do you feel about? Is there a rivalry in baseball? Yankees, Dodgers?
Not really.
Okay. So is there something in baseball? I mean,
Yankees Red Sox was always great,
Yankees Red Sox.
but that's early, that was early 2000s, wasn't it? I mean,
shit, that was 70s in
right,
my
but
life.
I mean, ended after the early 2000s. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There's some
How
great
about in
college
college?
ones.
But in college,
Alabama, Auburn. Are you kidding me? Ohio State,
Alabama, Auburn,
Michigan's
the Iron Bowl.
awesome. Ohio State, Michigan's one of the best.
Ohio State, Michigan. I
yeah.
don't think the SC.
Duke,
UCLA.
UNC basketball. That used to be great when I was a kid, man.
Yep.
Duke, UNC basketball was great.
I still think Duke and UNC is still up there because I
agree. Anthony had that one. Good one.
I will, but to me, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, to me, are the biggest rivalry in all of sports now, is because the Eagles have punched their ticket with Super Bowl wins, and now the Cowboys can no longer say this. Hey, here's the Cowboy fans talking to Eagles. Hey, Eagle fan, you'll never beat us. And here's Eagle fans. You'll never beat us. I mean, you talk in the present. Cowboys are now forced to talk in the past.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned Ravens Steelers, but where you might be right on this is the Steelers or the Eagles and the Cowboys have been a better team than both of those. Now, Ravens have been really good, but they haven't gotten over the hump. I mean, I know they won with Joe Flacco. What was that, 2012 or something? I forget when they won with him, but
that's when they beat the Niners.
Yeah. So the Eagles and Cowboys, and because the NFL is the biggest sport by a country mile, you would maybe be right about it being the biggest one of all. So probably Packers, Bears, Bills, Chiefs has become a good one recently with the playoffs. But for it to be a rivalry, the other team's got to win every once in a while, right?
Hey, that's my big thing.
Celtics. So
hey, that's my big thing on rivalries, man. Hey, look, you can't call it a rivalry. Like that's like Padre fans calling the Dodgers rivalry. I'm like,
I mean, Cowboys Niners was a good one back in the day, but that's ended now, obviously.
So here's another good one. Week 10, going to Lambeau, dude. And the tush push guys were pushing this. What if they end it this week? Boomer doesn't think they're going to end it. So what if they end it? This is on November 10th, I believe. It's Monday Night Football. You get to go to Lambeau Field. It's Monday Night Football. It's the Eagles versus the Packers. Bro, you hope there's a little snow, and you got a little snow going on there. November 10th.
It's a little early, but I mean, it is Green Bay, so it's going to be cold there. It's probably already cold there in May. But, yeah, I'm excited for that game, man. I mean, that's going to be great. Doesn't that bode well for the Eagles, too? Running team going into Lambeau in November? I mean, I think
running
that's perfect.
football team going in there. Perfect. Against a team that's got to show that they can stop the run. That's a great.
You know what? I might make a prediction right now, and I've been feeling this about this Packers team, and I've kind of teased it how I've been waiting for them to take that jump, and they didn't take it at all. And at least I don't think they've taken it. I think they could be a team that falls off this year. Not falls off. I'm not talking about 5 wins. I'm talking about if the Bears can piece together 9-10 wins this year, which I think they could. Now you're going to make fun of me because you already made fun of me for getting in debate.
I happen to agree with you
about the Bears, but I don't know if Jordan Love is meh.
They're too streaky.
Streaky, but man, last year he looked awful, dude.
Yeah, but dude, he goes like all of a sudden, man, that guy will play 4 games. You go, wow. Then he'll play 4 games, or you went, damn. I mean, I thought he was better than that. And you know what they look like to me? They look like a 500 team.
Yeah, and I don't like that.
Hanging around the rim.
I don't care if you're the most talented man on planet Earth. If you can't bring it to me on a consistent basis, then I can't build my team around that. That's one of the things I love the most about Jalen Hurts is that even when he's not on his best, you know that he has always showed to make a play when it matters. Doesn't matter how bad he's doing. So I love that from Jalen Hurts' perspective. I do not like streaky players, dude. I do. That's why I don't like Darnold. It's why I don't like Dak Prescott because he gets to the playoffs and is streaky as hell. Jordan Love has also proven to be the same thing. So, yeah, I'm out on the I'm kind of out on the Packers right now. I think they could fall down this year.
Week 13, Bears on Prime Video here. Here, man, Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Roma Odunze, the kid from Washington. Then they added Tune, They added Jonah Jackson. And by the way, I love John, but many of these guys were salary cap hits. And they were also because they had to get rid of, they were cap casualties. I think they've gotten better. They added the kid Colston Loveland at tight end. That seems to be a big tight end division, doesn't it? The NFC North.
Yeah.
They've got some pretty good tight ends in that division up there.
No
and
doubt.
then you turn around and look at their defense. Montez Sweat, they got him from Washington. Actually gave him an extension last year during the year. TJ Edwards, whatever you want to say, that contract has worked. He has been a really good football player for them. Tremaine Edmonds has been good. I like their secondary. I'm going to make a prediction to you here, man. I bet that team finishes second in the NFC North.
There you go. It's kind of where I just went. Wait a second. Did you start this segment off by saying I loved Ryan Poles, and now you're fucking agreeing?
The way you were talking, you were pimping Ryan Poles.
No, John was just acting like the team was a total trash can. I'm like, dude, they're the Bears. Give him a chance.
I don't think Ryan Poles has done that bad a job, but he's going to see. John looks at the now record, and he's not looking at where the mess was. The mess, they had a mess there, man. The previous general manager couldn't get out of his own way.
Well, I mean, John also said this morning on Birds 365, and anybody can go and listen to it if they would like, that basically he could build a roster better than every NFL team out there. Right? He could GM, he could coach, he could quarterback, he could defensive coordinator. John could do it all. So, you got to take what he says with a grain of salt. I love him, and I appreciate his confidence and everything like that. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to agree with him on everything.
How about this here? Could you work ever like this? Yeah, I'd really like this player. All of a sudden, the general manager comes in and goes, let me get back to you on that player, and I got to check out the money. Well, we need that player. I want that player on my team. I'll get back to you. He comes back and he goes, how about can we take this player here instead? Well, he's not quite the player I need. Well, he fits into our cap more. So I have to take a lesser player from my roster. Okay, so you just right there compromise because the general manager. Or how about this one? I want to hire this coach. Owner comes in and goes, I'm not sure he fits my culture and what I'm looking at. And so you're sitting here as a coach going like this, Ander. So I have to answer to the GM. I have to answer to the owner. How do you get shit done?
It's true.
Okay? This is where Howie has a carte blanche, credit card. He doesn't really have – the owner trusts him to do the things the owner wants.
Yeah, and Howie's earned some of that slack as well.
Yeah,
but again, John was crushing polls for the draft pick of passing on Carter, and I'm like, if you judged Howie when it was an incomplete resume on draft picks and the year was 2020, you would say he was one of the worst GMs in football, for crying out loud. I mean, the guy couldn't draft for shit.
Justin Jefferson, he missed on him.
Breathe a little bit. It's fun. By the way, it's the other thing I think about all the time. And I know my boy Kill has been saying in the chat. I can't for the life, man. And this isn't exclusive to you. Why people grade Jalen Hurts like he's got a 15-year career? This is a 4-year player. He's an incomplete product, and he's shown you so many positive things in those 4 years. I feel the same about Sirianni. I feel the same about Hurts. And, it bothers me that people talk about these players like, the story's been written. It's not. It hasn't been written at all. Like, and to your point, did Jalen win with a great team? Yes. But he's got a long way to go. Like, what's the team going to look like? We've been bashing the defense. You have at least all offseason. What if they go back and win with the 15th overall defense? Like, let's see how it plays out. I think people got to give a little bit more space to let these careers form. Like, Dak Prescott's got 10, 11 years starting. All right. That's a little bit of a bigger body of work there. So, but
here's my problem. Here's my problem with Hurts is that every year he's been a starting quarterback, it's been a different version of him. 21, 22, 23, and 24. You had a year in 24 where he compromised and did the right thing, and they ran the ball. Wasn't as needed during the entire regular season, and really, for that matter, the first playoff game, you really didn't need him. And in 23, they tried to throw the ball. There was too many turnovers on the offensive side of the football. 22, he was as complete as you can be. And 21, he was a young kid learning how to start as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's been 4 different Jalen Hurtses. They've been
do
up.
You view that as a negative?
No, I view that as I don't see any consistency yet. Like, I know Mahomes is that guy every year. I see the same dude.
Yeah, but he does it differently as well.
He does it because of the personnel around him differently.
Right, I agree.
Hurts has the same personnel since 22.
That's not really true. That's not really true. He was a different quarterback from 22 to 24. Because why?
2022, the only guy that you've added has been Barkley.
But that
okay.
I know it's only one guy, but that's a pretty big guy.
But they added Barkley. He's the only guy since 22 that they've added. And what did they do when they added it? They subtracted from his and in the game plan.
I see this a little different than you. I understand what you're saying in that it hasn't been consistent. So there's an element of you don't know what you're going to get, right? Like it's looked different. So I understand where they're coming from with that. But again, I go back to the comment I just made about he's a 4-year starter. He showed me that in 22 he could win if he needed to pass. He showed me in 23 that an upper, whatever you learned from 23. In 24, he won, in the way that he won. I kind of view it like Jalen, as he's assembling himself in the league, is winning in every way. There's only so many different ways that you can do it now. Now he's building up a foundation that spreads much wider than somebody who can only win it one certain way.
I think they're different because they've been 4 different coordinators.
Well, the offense has been largely the same.
Not the approach. The approach changed drastically after week 4. The approach completely changed to the prior 2 years. Dude, they enhanced the RPOs more after week 4 even.
No, they did. I mean,
there
they
were 4 different voices in his ear after that. So, I mean, look at this. 22, you had Steichen. 23, you had Johnson. Now, 24, you had Kellen. So you're going to get a different version of him each and every single year. Last year, Hurts did not carry the mail for 20 weeks or for 19 weeks of that team. It was the running game that carried it. And by the way, Boomer's right. He's part of that. Okay, I'm not a big part. I'm not, and so was AJ part of.
No, but I hear what you're saying. I mean, he didn't put the team on his back and say, get on me, I'll take you home.
Wouldn't you think that was a philosophical change in direction from 23 and even the first 4 games of the year when they got to the bye? That was a change in the approach.
Yeah.
So my point is, how can you be? And on top of that, last year was the first year he learned how to set protections.
Which is a huge thing. But
now he got better towards the playoffs, and no sacks went down.
I understand where you're coming from, where you can say, look, they took that ball out of Jalen's hands and put it into Saquon's, and that's where they had success. But you have to factor in the context that preceded that. All right. In 22, the team won, I believe it was 14 games, if I'm not mistaken. They were 14-3 that year. They were obviously 3-1 in the postseason, or 2-1 in the postseason as well. So he was, 16-4, whatever it was that year. And then you started last year 10-1. So you remember back before the collapse of 23, everybody was posting on social media. Look at the Eagles' last 35 games. They're like 30-2 or whatever the heck it was. So that preceded the collapse of 23. In 24, you tried to pick back up and get back on the rails, and they tried to do it like they did in 23 or 22 and 23, and it didn't work early. So they defaulted and went backwards and said, let's make this more simple. Let's run the ball, and let's find our rhythm that way. It worked so well that they never had to change anything. Now, you can view it as a knock on Jalen Hurts, or you can view it as the team had to evolve because the defenses in the NFL caught up to what they were doing. And then they went through, and remember, as you pointed out, Jason Kelce retired. Jalen had to take on a new role at the line of scrimmage as compared to what he did his first couple of years. And then you might have taken a couple steps back, but did you do that to take another big step forward? Right. And I think you could look at it like that as well. And because you had Barkley, because you had that offensive line, it worked better than it would have on 30 other teams outside of the Ravens, maybe, who had Derrick Henry and ran for 1,900 yards. So I hear where you're going with that. But my point with this is I want to give Jalen a little bit more time. And I know people will say he's been starting for 5 years, but I've seen a lot of incredible things from Jalen Hurts, and I think you would say the same. I think everybody would say the same. In moments, Jalen has wowed everybody. Now, is he the most consistent? No. Does he have the biggest arm? No. But he's proven time and time again that no matter what way you have to do it, he'll find a way to win. He's not perfect. He doesn't do it every single time. 23 was obviously not great, but I think with what he learned through the year last year, and now combining that with what they obviously have with the running game, I think you have a chance for it to be a really special season. Now, hey, maybe you're right. Maybe Jalen falls on his face. I don't think so. I think the kid is in a really good spot, and I can't wait to see what the next 4 years look like.
I don't think he's going to ever fall on his face. I think the team around him will fall on their face and will drag him with him if it does. And I don't know why that would be unless the defense doesn't step up. There's more turnover. The team fell on its face in 23.
It did, but that was again, that was not.
And so did
Jalen deserves a lot of blame for that. When you're the head of the snake, you get the credit when things go well, like you just raised the MVP trophy, and you get the blame when things go bad. But I will say that was a collapse of epic proportions. I mean, you're not talking about just offense. It was Jalen. Remember how bad he was? He started turning the ball over. He had the fumble and the safety in the playoffs that year. The defense was the legitimate worst defense in the NFL. So that was kind of like an organizational collapse that I agree Hurts deserves blame for, but I can't put the entirety of that on his shoulders. And I think, all the other moments outside of that, he's been pretty damn good, man. So I hear where you're coming from, but I do think Jalen has a chance to really even take another big step forward this year and be a really, really great quarterback, because I think he did his best progression reading in the last game of the year last year versus last two games. Right.
That's 2 games. It's just being reported now that Trey Hendrickson has no intention of playing for the Bengals this year. He's sitting out and he's holding out. He's not reporting.
Well, they're jerking him around. Are they going to trade him?
I know. And I think, again, it's very Cincinnati-ish. Would that be a player that would you send some assets, some of the younger players, or a player for him? At 17.5 sacks. Now, again, here's why deals got to be more for me, and why I would say this to you. If Duke Tobin calls Howie Roseman and says, "Hey, how'd you like to make a trade here?" I'd be this. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a second and a third for the guy. That's it. And if they want a first rounder, I would go, why would I want to give you a first rounder up?
I'm definitely not giving a first rounder.
Here. Why would I give you a first rounder up when I won the Super Bowl without a dominant edge?
Right. Now,
and I don't personally think he's a dominant edge.
He is, but I'm gonna make an emphatic no on this, okay? Because we've talked about the defensive changes that this team has went through, and we also talked about what made them so great last year. And you are in a situation right now where you're cap crunching. You got to prioritize certain players and let other guys walk as they did. Right. Do we really need to spend? Remember why he's in this situation in the first place? He wants to make $30+ million. He wants to make $30, $35, $40 million.
35.
Right. So even if it's a third rounder, I'm like, third rounder, yeah, sounds great, but I got to give up $35 million for what? How many years? 2-3 years?
Well,
I don't think I can make that move with where this team is.
Take the Brian Burns deal, a second, a third, and 25 north of $25 million. That's what it would cost you.
Yeah, I'm
probably a little north of that now.
I don't think that's the right move for this specific team. And that's not a knock on Trey Hendrickson, the player. That's identifying. I don't think this team, right. Well, I think he'd be great here. I'll say that. I think he'd be great. But I don't think you want to spend. It'd be great. But is that the money you want to spend? Like, does that get you closer to the bowl, or does, taking that money and building back up the things that made the deal, like to your point, the secondary was so good last year. That's our biggest risk, right? You're coming in with Ringo and Makuba. If those guys can't play, that defense is going to struggle much more so than it did last year. So I just don't think it's the right move for this team.
I got to tell you, man, I think you're right. Even though I think the player would look pretty good. And
Kelly's exceptional, man.
I mean, he had a really
good. You get 17.5 sack shows in the NFL, you're a fucking player. That's a lot of sacks.
Absolutely. Last couple ones here for you. What'd you make of the NBA lottery last night?
Yeah.
So wait a minute. They
John,
send the kid. They send the
Jonathan's
kid
crazy
they
for
send
anybody
the
to think
kid
it's
to Los
conspiracy.
Angeles. They send a guy to L.A.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
out of nowhere, the Dallas Mavericks get the old number 1.8 chance of winning that thing.
I know. And John's like, yeah, anybody that's a conspiracy is dumb. I'm like, really? I don't know.
I don't
That looks a
know.
little fishy to me, you know. But I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. The Sixers get the 3rd overall pick. In my opinion, as much as I like Ace Bailey and the other Rutgers kid, I don't think they're franchise altering players. I think there was only one of those guys in this draft, and that's Cooper Flagg, and you missed out on him. So if I were the Sixers and they believe their window's still open, yeah, I don't think it is. I think you got to close the window.
Would you trade Embiid to Dallas for the number 1 overall pick? Number 1
they're not gonna
overall
do
pick
that.
for Flagg?
They're not going to do that. In a perfect world, that makes a lot of sense. Give them 3 and Embiid and move to 1. But why would Dallas do that? Now you're going to have Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis with ball dominant Kyrie Irving. That'd be a good fit. But what's your window? 1 year, 2 years? Or you draft Cooper Flagg with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. Now you got a forward, you got a big man, and you got a point guard. Dallas is not doing that. That's a bad move for Dallas. So that's not going to happen. I think you got to get rid of Embiid at this point, man. What are they doing with this guy?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, dude, the 3rd pick in the draft, whether hurt, you know, I mean, where are you going here with this, man? I mean, I don't see it. I mean, you're just kind of like sitting in the toilet bowl again, spinning around, not going anywhere. You got to do something here. And I don't know. I don't really see anything happening here. By the way, I'm going.
Wait, do you think it was rigged for Dallas?
Well, I'll tell you this.
I think it was.
Patrick Ewing goes to he's from New York. He goes to the Knicks. Okay. LeBron goes to Cleveland.
Derrick Rose to the Bulls. Yeah.
LeBron's okay. And then after the trade, but here, why Dallas? Are you trying to give Dallas ammo so teams will move up and a big market team would go and get a guy and try to get Cooper Flagg? I mean, can you imagine?
But this is where I disagree with John completely, because he's like, Luka Doncic isn't the prize, it's Cooper Flagg. And I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, I can say what I want about Cooper Flagg is a fucking draft pick. You have no idea what that player is going to be in the NBA. You have no clue what he's going to be. You
a Hall of Famer.
Stars of the NBA to the Lakers. And I think they got assurances. I do. I mean, because at the end of the day, that move made no sense. And anybody with a brain knew that Nico Harrison, I mean, as dumb as you might think he is, he's not that dumb to trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. I mean, that was a ridiculous trade. It made 0 sense. But now that the trade is complete, it makes a lot more sense. You're like, okay, they made a deal. They made the Lakers a prime time to try and boost ratings. And
I sent a text to Mark Cuban. Mark doesn't own the team anymore. And I go, dude. He goes, radio silence. He wrote radio silence. I went, all right. I love, hey, man, I'll tell you what. John's really doing a great job on your show. He's like, hey, man, at Rutgers, how come nobody's going to the playoffs? I go, John, you guys drafted Ben Simmons. He didn't take LSU to the playoffs. They never went that year. You took him number 1 overall.
Well, that was his point. What the fuck did he do in the league?
Dude, if these guys from Rutgers are not going to make any impact.
Yeah, well, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, now you're a third. Look, I can't really talk about the Sixers right now because I grew up the biggest Sixers fan. They were my favorite team when I was a kid. That's where I went. Like, I went 1 year. I got Christmas morning. We woke up, and at the bottom of the steps was Sixers tickets for Christmas Day game. Like me and my family went to the game on Christmas Day. Like I was.
His dad called Embiid a stiff, though.
Yeah, my dad hated Embiid. My dad hated Embiid back when he was drafted. He hated the process. He hated everything about it, and he was right. He used to tell me when I was younger, and I used to fight with him about it. He would say, "You watch Dallas," and this is at the time when they had who's the GM they had before Brad Stevens? Why am I blanking on his name? Fuck, he was incredible. White hair.
Danny Ainge.
Yes, Danny Ainge. He said, you watch. Danny Ainge will rebuild the Celtics. They'll go back to the playoffs, and they'll win a ring before you guys even do shit. And he was exactly 100% right, and I was wrong on the whole process. So, but I get upset because are you going to let Daryl Morey control? We have now the 3rd overall pick. All right, you got old, expiring players that are like literally way past their prime. And now you're going to rebuild this thing with the same dude. Wait a second. The same dude that got rid of all of the players that made you good and put you into this position for you to even get a 3rd overall pick, you're going to let that guy rebuild it? Why? Why?
It'd be like Joe Schoen rebuilding the Giants.
Yeah,
Really?
it doesn't make sense. So like I'm really pissed about it, but I'm trying to revive my fandom just because I love basketball, man. I like basketball. It was tough to watch last night, that Tatum injury.
I know the Tatum injury, man. Did they get any word back on the MRI?
No, but that looked bad, bro. That looked
Dude,
bad.
that may affect them going into next year. Okay,
that's a late injury, man. Late in the year. We're in May. Yeah, that's
like
a
that,
late
an
injury.
like that down there. Okay,
And they're done, by the way. Knicks are going to go, man. I think the Knicks have a chance to win it.
First time in 25 years the Knicks will be in a conference championship. Man. All right, final one here. This is it. So,
he already had surgery. Drozone said ruptured Achilles.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
No way will he be ready.
Shady's bringing up my Phillies. He's a big Phillies fan. Shady, they're rocking and rolling right now, brother. I think they look pretty damn good. And I'll say this about the Phillies. It's a long season, so you always got to buckle in and allow baseball to happen. But if that team, Shady, gets hot at the right time, and when I say hot, I don't mean the bats. The bats are obviously important, but I'm talking about those arms. Because while they're a bit streaky, they got a lot of arms. They got Luzardo, Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, Suarez, all these dudes. And if you can get them to play well in the playoffs and Romano can start to pitch, now he's been a lot better recently, Jordan Romano in the bullpen, I think that team has a chance to compete in the playoffs, but it's got to come together at the right time.
Same old Phillies.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, well, you know what? I mean, I don't want them playing their best.
Well, so much of me wants to believe that Bryce Harper is different, that he's going to eventually make it happen.
All I could say is I don't care about them playing great in May.
I don't either. But when you've watched the team for several years, you can kind of piece together some of the same problems or non-problems that they have. Yeah.
All right. So here, I got a question for you. So Howie Roseman is now the MVP of Philly, and Saquon Barkley's now he's like going to the Met Gala, and you got Hurts at the Met Gala. He's the man time of the year. I mean, surely
the Los Angeles Eagles.
I mean, surely, or the New York Eagles.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys are doing very.
I don't know. New Yorkers are a little bit more gritty,
Yeah,
but got that prima donna LA look.
Red carpet. I got you. All right,
got that red carpet LA in them.
So you guys, is this very un-Philly like? You guys going to Met Galas and hanging out with presidents and I mean, Jesus Christ. Now Howie Roseman's got the city keys, like the MVP.
Well, listen, we just talked about a little bit ago how
Isn't that distractions?
Texas boy, you missed a great conversation about the Eagles-Cowboys rivalry. I would have liked it if you were here to check and weigh in on it, but that's all right. Look, we just talked about how the Eagles never had won. As much as we like to believe that we were a top dog, we had never won. And now when you start to win, when you put together multiple years of success like this, yeah, you get some of these accolades where you get to hang out with Obama and Trump and Air Force One and all these different Met Galas and gala. I like how you call it the gala. Look, it's a little weird. I don't care for it. I've never been involved. I've never been into that stuff. I've always wondered, I agree. I think this about sports too, by the way, but I've always wondered why people give so much a shit about celebrities. Like, why do you care about other people's lives so much? Even sports. I mean, we care about these athletes so much, but no, I don't really care. It is weird though. It's definitely not like Philly
because they're TV stars now.
Yeah, well, we just talked about it. The big business, right?
Yeah, the ratings. These are not football players anymore, dude.
Yeah, true.
They're TV stars.
That's a good point.
I mean, right? I mean, you're no longer just a guy any longer who shows up on a Sunday, man. So you don't think there's too many distractions?
What, more than last year?
Oh yeah, you won it this year.
I think it's something to watch for.
Huh?
I mean, look, and I say that because you got a much shorter offseason.
So it's a thing.
Jalen Hurts, his season was over January last year. This year it was February 12th. He won the bowl, and he was freaking flying around the whole country until March, right. And then he had multiple events then. So he kind of never got as much of a break this summer. He got married and some of those things. Which congratulations to Jalen Hurts. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, I think it's something to watch for. But do you call it that? Well, you just call it Super Bowl hangover. How do you gauge that? Remember, they're playing a great schedule. They are. They're becoming America's team, Sills.
Hang on, Texas boy. Question for you. Are the Eagles now America's team? I heard the Eagles are going to have baby oil in the locker room for September 4th season opener.
Remember, we are the Eagle. Like, the Eagle is the bird of America.
The greatest opening for a game is in Philadelphia, PA, with that fucking bird flying in.
I love
the way that thing rolls in, that bald eagle, dude. That's the best opening to a football or sports thing I've ever seen in my life. Is that eagle rolling in from the top of that stadium?
Yeah. I got to run here because I want to post up your boomer thing before your show ends. But I'll say this. The NFL put out the first 4 games that were released yesterday.
I love them.
The Eagles were 3 of them, dude.
Dude, and they got the Commanders too.
Yeah, and now they've released 4. The Eagles are, bro, the NFL is promoting the Eagles more than I've ever seen in my life.
I've never seen it before.
So, I mean, the Eagles are, yo, Texas boy, y'all better start winning some football games, Texas boy. Come on, man. The Eagles are taking over, man. I think you might be right, Sills. Wait, that's happened under who? The greatness of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. Now, you can hate, you can find narratives, you can create talking points for
George Seifert.
You can do all the big Sills things, but facts are facts.
George Seifert, Sirianni. All right, kid.
Call them what you want. As long as we're winning games, I don't give a shit.
All right, my friend. I appreciate you, man. Don't forget to check out. Do we get any supers?
A-Team says, what up, A-Team? How is it not a conspiracy? The WNBA Dallas team also got the first overall pick. Sixers need a clean house, and Embiid's career is cut short because of injury. And Dallas, get the wrong mentality, get the wrong mindset. He's got a lot more problems than just the injuries. I'll say that.
Why Dallas, though, if you're going to do that? I mean,
Connor says, well, because they had Luka. Connor said, Connor becomes a member. Connor, thank you, bro. I appreciate that very much, man. Those go a long way in helping us. Thank you, bro. Kokorski says, me personally, I'm trading for an experienced cornerback. I agree.
Trey? Yep. Or I'm going to sign an experienced safety. The team doesn't need an edge. You guys don't need an edge.
No, I agree, especially not a $30 million one. Prince says, can we review the schedule as we did last year to analyze the win-loss record? Prince, that's Thursday, bro. After the schedule comes out, we'll do that.
We'll do that.
Well, you know, Prince, it's called win-loss, man. You go down the schedule, you go win-loss, win-loss, win-loss.
You know how I look at it, Xander? I look at it coaching, roster, and because it's hard to predict wins in this, but I look at really good organizations and strength of schedule. See, John,
you know what I call it? It's like, where's Waldo? Where's the loss for the Eagles? Because there's so few of them.
Yeah, with that Lindbergh cheese defense.
Lindbergh cheese, my ass. You said the same thing.
Yeah, we'll see. Keely Ringo.
Since Sills was at Miami. That's a long time, man.
Dude, he has, man. Get this. I tell you, Abe, I told you this before. He recruited me in high school when he was at Milford Academy. Vic Fangio offered me a scholarship to play at Milford Academy. By the way, you want to hear this? The Eagles have 3 players from Milford Academy on the team right now.
Here's Abe. Abe says, Montana once said no leader hasn't persevered. Winston Churchill, JFK, Steve Wilson. You don't know who Steve Wilson is? Well, that's because he quit. LOL.
Okay.
I don't even really know what Abe's going for here. Let me look up Steve Wilson.
Yeah, I've never heard of Steve Wilson.
That's his point.
Yeah, who's Steve Wilson?
That's his point, is that don't quit.
Oh, okay.
That's why you don't know who Steve Wilson is.
Montana. Yeah, okay. Well, this.
Abe, I think it went over his head, bro.
Oh, completely. I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Abe said, I got it. Was that the one you were talking about, Abe?
Yeah.
Don't quit. Exactly. I got you. Abe, I got you, bro. I got you, Abe. I won't let you down, Abe.
Hold on, Abe. You went around a long way to get that one home, homie.
Delivered that in a way better method, brother.
Holy shit, man. I didn't know what he was talking about. Holy
are you all right? You're reeling a little bit. The chat got in your head today, dude.
No, that is not true. Yeah.
Right. Prince, come on, man. It's May. Take it easy on Big Silver.
Hold on.
All right, man.
Hold on. Whoa.
Prince is going a little hard. Prince,
Yeah,
Crowley, A-Team, Abe, Flexen, Sue, they're going
pumping-
hard on you.
He's pumping you guys up. You guys are dog
I
shit.
just think you guys,
You
Sil's a
guys
sensitive
get
guy.
dog shit.
He gets
takes.
off the air. He's a sensitive guy. He's
Yeah,
much more sensitive than you think.
Maybe so. My cat died.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Did
Died
it?
Oh man, yeah, we had to put him to sleep.
No, I hate that. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't know that. I thought you were joking. Oh, that stinks. I'm sorry,
yeah,
bro. I lost my
14
dog a little good ago.
14 years. Well,
I was not ready for how bad losing my animal.
Hey, let me tell you this, man. Let me tell you this. We have we had rescue dogs. We have a rescue dog. We have rescue cats. We rescue animals. And my wife found this cat in Orlando about 14 years ago. And, she's had cancer for a while, but she's lived through it. She's really did great. And then, yesterday was not good. It was like,
I'm sorry, bro.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I don't have very many friends, so my animals are my friends.
I know. Believe me, I understand you on that more than you know.
Yeah, man, that was brutal last night. So we wake up, my wife looks at me and goes, "Catch that, damn it." And I'm going,
look, I was making fun of you, and then you pull out my cat died, and now I feel like a total asshole. Is that what you wanted to do, Sil? You made me feel like a dick.
No, it's not. But by the way, I got your thing at the end. I made it seem like yesterday when
I knew you just clicked.
Yeah,
I was just saying condolences. Yeah. So all
right,
brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Xander. You guys. Hey, by the way, folks, they're doing such a great job on that show on Birds 365. Keep up the great work, Xander.
Congratulations to you, Sileo, for this. You get to cover the face of the NFL. Think about how cool that is, brother. Thank you so much, man. I'll see you.
He's just a jackass. I get to cover the face of the NFL, Saquon Barkley. You bet, man. I am all over that. Covering Saquon Barkley. Yeah. Oh, my God, Shady. Shady, this house is all about loving animals. Okay? Absolutely, man. Twiz, it's all good, kid. Don't worry about it. By the way, my good friends, Morgan & Morgan, make sure you check them out, folks. Their track record is second to none. The number one injury law firm in all of America is Morgan & Morgan. Family in Pennsylvania won a settlement for $30 million because the team of thousands of attorneys from coast to coast make sure families like yours are protected and making sure families like yours get the best legal advice when you go into any one of these cases. Folks, the one reason that Morgan & Morgan is number one is because they win. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sales sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagle.
Big Sales, please hit the like button. Appreciate you guys very much. So this story just came down. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred has removed Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson and other deceased players from Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. This ruling means, obviously, Manfred ruled that Major League Baseball's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their deaths. They are now presumably eligible for election into baseball's Hall of Fame. Well, I've always said that. Lifetime ban. Okay, well, why wasn't Shoeless Joe ever put in? So you can't talk about the history of baseball without Pete Rose. And by the way, if you're talking about a popularity contest or you're talking about Man of the Year, Rose isn't it. But that's not what the requirements. You don't have to be a great guy to be a baseball Hall of Famer. That's why Ty Cobb has always and told people, hey, gauge me on my play. Now gambling is, I think Major League Baseball is also facing the fact that gambling has always been a part. Now it's just more transparent. Like I said, here, and to this point, and to your point, Real, if Ty Cobb were eligible for baseball's Hall of Fame, I don't believe he'd be elected because of his racist views and how he looked at things. Different times, I get it. But how he allegedly shot and killed someone or his racism, Tris Speaker would never be invited to the Baseball Hall of Fame. This guy had clan ties. Again, I get it. Different eras, different times. People had different views of everything. But you can't tell the history of baseball without Barry Bonds, without Roger Clemens, without Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Pete Rose, and Shoeless Joe. Explain this one to me on Shoeless Joe. Let me show you guys something here a little bit on Shoeless Joe. Isn't it ironic that the team that he played on, the Chicago White Sox, the 1919 White Sox, how come there's no asterisk on that title for the Reds? So the only people that got penalized were not the owner's team, the Reds. It were the players that ended up getting suspended. There's never been an asterisk that was on that World Series. In here, when you put him into the Hall of Fame, Shoeless Joe had a .356 batting average. That's third all time. He hit 400 one year. I mean, he was one of the greatest ball players of all time. Over 200 hits. This guy was an MVP candidate. One of the truly greatest players in the history of the sport. You can't tell the story of baseball just like this. You can't tell the story of America without the Civil War and slavery. That would be like omitting that part of the history of the Civil War. Right or wrong, it's part of the history of that war. Is why they fought. But people don't like that. If you don't tell the whole story, how can you have a historical understanding of where your sport has come from? Same with football. You know, there were many people that were barred that were black from playing in the sport early on, all the way up until 1950. That's why there was another league formed. I think it was the AAFA, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where African Americans and black players could play. Like out in Los Angeles. There used to be a thing in Los Angeles. You couldn't play at the Coliseum. So Rose in the Hall of Fame, if Pete Rose is eligible, that's a surefire. I mean, I guess this would be his first year of eligibility. How is Pete Rose not a first-year eligibility Hall of Famer if he's eligible now to be on the ballot? How don't you put Barry Bonds in? I mean, what are the writers' excuses? Can you guys help me out on this one? What are the writers' excuses for Bonds not being in baseball's Hall of Fame? What are their excuses? Why isn't Bonds in base? He never failed the test. He never failed a drug test. So, I mean, if you don't fail a drug test, here's Cody. Cody, he never failed the drug test. Bonds has never failed the drug test. He's not in the Hall of Fame under presumption. Do you understand that? That baseball writers vote in keeping him out of the Hall of Fame is so sacred to those voters, they have the power under presumption not to put him in the Hall of Fame. They're presuming he took it. By the way, that federal case, they spent $28 million on Bonds to convict him. They got him on obstruction, where he did 20 months in his mansion in the Bay Area in San Francisco. They couldn't prove anything. So what they did was the baseball writers accentuated their votes. And once again, one last thing on this, with Rose going in, and I hope he goes in. Hey, by the way, we did one of the very last interviews right here on this program with Pete Rose. Do you guys remember? Pete Rose did an interview. It's one of the very last. It may have been the last interview that he did one-on-one. I think he did something in Vegas at a card show. And he did something with like Bench and some other guys that were from that Big Red Machine. I think Tony Perez was also with him. And but I think we did one of the very last interviews with Pete Rose here on this show. Okay? And Pete was like, hey, I just come to the conclusion where it's going to be now. He knew he was never going to see his bust in baseball's Hall of Fame. So I hope that he ends up getting into the Hall of Fame here. Tony Gwynn struck out less than 2,500 times in his entire career. Insane stat, a robot in that box. I think the 1 year he hit 396. If I'm not mistaken, I think the year he hit 396 or 398, I think he struck out 20 times. I knew Tony Gwynn. I knew his wife really well. I've done a lot of events with Tony Gwynn's wife. And let me see here. The year that he had, the year he hit 398, I think he had like 14 strikeouts. Yeah, 394. He struck out 19 times. Listen to this. Here's Tony Gwynn. From 1991 until 1995, he struck out 19 times and or 629 at bats. He struck out 16 times, 580 at bats. He struck out 16 times at 572 at bats. He struck out 19 times, 558 at bats. This guy was insane. I mean, over 20 years, he struck out 400 times with 9,200 at bats. Incredible. Well, Jack, the year in 41, if I'm not mistaken, I think DiMaggio struck out 14 times. The year he had the 56-game hitting streak, that was not actually his best year. There was another year, a year earlier, I think in 39, that DiMaggio, I think he struck out like 9 times. I think it was 9 times DiMaggio struck out in 39, I think it was. Here, let me double check that. Joe D's one of my favorites, obviously. Yeah, the year, here it is. The year 1940. Yeah, when he had the 57-game hit streak, DiMaggio struck out 13 times that year. And he won the MVP. Had 30 homers, 125 RBIs, and hit 357. And that's the year he 56-game hitting streak. Struck out 13 times. Bonds was jealous of all the attention McGuire and Sosa were getting. Not true. I interviewed Bonds when I worked at KMBR, and he used to come on my show every day. And we would get him on my afternoon show when I was on in the Bay Area. And I asked him about that. And Bonds was always transparent with me. And we always talked about, and this was even after the fact, I'm friends with Barry Bonds, was about the money. Was about the money. Think about this. Would you do this? Here, I'll show you something about Roger Clemens here. Let me show you something here. Roger Clemens. And you tell me if you would do this. So Roger Clemens did this. So here, let's go back. Let's go down to the very end. He pitched until he was 44. I want to show you guys something here on what he cashed in. And basically what Bonds cashed in. And this is why these guys took steroids. It wasn't anything about record books. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with money. And these guys' salaries, they escalated to a point where they were making more money than they had ever made before in their entire lives. Here, let me show you this. So the years from the year he was 40 in 2003, he made 10 million, then he made 5 million, then came back in 2005 and made 20 million, and then with the Yankees his last year, he made 20 million. No year prior to that had Roger Clemens in his 20 some odd years ever made more than $7 million. He made money taking juice. And do you remember what the big deal was with him in New York? He didn't have to pitch on the road. He only pitched at home. He made $20 million, okay, for pitching at home and taking steroids. So he looked at his 7-time Cy Young Awards, and that's how many times he won it. He won the Cy 7 times. And he looked at his MVP, and he said, for $150 million, I'm going to cash my Hall of Fame ticket in for $150 million. And that's what he did. And I don't blame him. You were paying him. What's more important to me, $150 million or Hall of Fame? Same with Bonds. Bonds was making $18, $19 million at the end. These guys were making money that they had never seen in their careers. And they were paying them for hitting these giant moonshots and for pitching all the way into your 30s and 40s. What would you do? Somebody gave you $200 million to take steroids. Or would you rather have a Hall of Fame ticket that means nothing to you at the end of the day? Give me the $200 million. I don't blame those guys at all. Why would you? They took the money. Who cares if you're a Hall of Famer? If anybody looks at Roger Clemens' record and you look at what he did in his career and you call him a non-Hall of Famer, then there's something wrong with you. Well, he took juice. So what? People took amphetamines. Nobody gave a shit about the amphetamines that players were taking. Those were illegal. Steroids were not illegal until 2003 in this country. Those guys were making tons of money. And baseball didn't like it. That's why they stopped the steroid era. Steroids doesn't improve your ability to put the bat on the ball. No, what it did was warning shots that guys were hitting became home runs. So instead of hitting 30 homers, you were hitting 38 homers or 40 homers. And if you were a 40 home run hitter, you were hitting 50. Okay? And they were helping you in your recovery for injuries. Most of the guys were taking it for injuries and recovering on injury. It's funny. Baseball's the only sport that steroid matters. NFL guys, nobody gave a shit about Sean Merriman taking it and then making a Pro Bowl that year. He got suspended 3 games or 4 games, and he made the Pro Bowl that year. Nobody cared about that. Baseball is like the only sport that stuff really matters in. Totally, man. PEDs changed the game. So what? For the better. Bro, so you have a problem with an athlete taking performance-enhancing drugs so he can play longer for you and entertain you as a player. So what's the difference between taking that and a cortisone shot to get a player on the field so he can play? What's the difference? Steroids don't make you a better player. They enhance the ability you have. I mean, Lane Johnson took steroids. Do you look down on him? Lane Johnson got popped twice. You think that's going to stop him from making the Hall of Fame? Not a bit? Oh, okay. But it should stop Bonds on innuendo. Lane failed the test. Bonds never did. How does Lane get in? And Bonds doesn't. Right? How does Alzado never be in a conversation for the Hall of Fame? But Lane is. And Lane failed the test twice. Alzado never did. Alzado admitted to it. He works out like I know he does. Hey, dude, I think he's a Hall of Fame player. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. That's not where I'm at. All right. Love the fact that Boomer came on. I think that's a really great story, though, that they're Shoeless Joe and Pete get a shot at going into the Hall of Fame, their rightful place that they should be. I'm a big baseball guy, as you can see, and I hope those guys get into the Hall of Fame because they absolutely deserve it. Want to thank Boomer for coming aboard. I think Without a doubt, man, I love our segments with Xander. You guys were great today. Yes, even you, Prince and Sue and Twiz. Absolutely. I will see all of you guys tomorrow, 2 to 6, and we'll see you on the flip side.